champion!
Dreams were realized, yet some were transformed into nightmares. In a world where the past intertwines with the present, a new story begins. The first chapter of the ESL R1 history book has been etched onto the pages of time. Another eagerly awaits its turn. The ESL R1 2023 full season is about to start. Find your grip and get ready for the racing to be released.
And it is pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go.
It is ESL R1 full season, baby, and boy oh boy, what a pleasure it is to be back on your screens once again. As usual, my name is Jasmine and I'm going to be your host throughout the duration of ESL R1 once again. And folks, the last time we saw ESL R1 was live from Gamers 8 itself, where we saw Max Benecke representing Mouse walking away with the Driver Championship trophy and prize money. Meanwhile, we saw Porsche Kawanda close things out in our team championship, walking away with a hefty $250,000 to their name as well. But you know what they say, new season, new rules, out with the old, in with the new. We have new drivers, we have new cars, we have new point system, new prizing. But you know what? It's time to bring in a familiar face to all of you. George, get in here, homie. How was it for you being back on the screen?
Well, Jasmine, it's a pleasure to be back here, and I tell you what, I'm looking forward to this one. Don't forget to get your beta keys, folks. Make sure you get yourself one of those. I'm going to make sure it gets out of the light there, because there's lots going on here. There's one there for you guys. Check that out. But yes, lots going on. Great to be back here at ESL R1 after a tremendous Gamers 8 Championship. The grandest stage of sim racing, I think, to date. It's never got quite as big as that, but plenty more to come. And I tell you what, the full season looks just as tremendous. Looking forward to getting stuck in tonight. It's going to be good.
It's honestly looking pretty spicy, and we are only just getting the show started. New drivers, new cars, new format, even new graphics around here as well, right, George?
Yeah, looking great. And just look at that, Shazam, we are back. And there we have it. Magic, indeed. But yes, no, it's great to be back, and nice to have some nice new overlays for you guys to enjoy at home too.
And speaking of all of the new things, let's go ahead and visit the brand new point system we have in place now, George. Obviously, being rewarded with points every step of the way now. How much of an impact is this going to have on the intensity of our competition?
Yeah, it's going to get very intense, and naturally with points now on offer throughout the knockout semi-finals and the finals. Finals, you get an extra 10 points as well if you take a victory as opposed to the knockouts of the semi-finals, and it filters downwards as well through the allocation as you go from Ps1 down to Ps12. But again, yes, it does grab that extra initiative for the drivers to try and maximize their opportunities. You'll expect a lot of drivers fighting for those P1 spots now, maybe being a little bit more, should we say, risque with some of the moves. We could be seeing fireworks tonight.
While I know the topic of conversation always has been the prize pool that is on the line here, George, taking a look at that first place, taking away 40,000 euros versus the second place. Do you reckon it's going to be a tighter competition this time around?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, you look right through the order, plenty of prize money on offer for all the talents, and naturally not just going towards the Drivers' Championship or the Teams' Championship, a consistent theme here at ESL R1, but this is why we love this championship. Lots on offer, lots of risk and reward. If you can maximize your risk and reward to a positive, should we say to the positive level, you have every opportunity of scoring some big cash. So let's wait and see who is going to do that.
Well, you know what? Throughout the duration of ESL R1 so far, we've seen drivers come and go. Some drivers struggling on certain weeks more than others, certain tracks more than others. But you know, one brand new addition that I'm certainly a very big fan of is the round winners that we have added into ESL R1 this time around. Now, drivers get to walk away with €1,000 if they manage to secure themselves that first place per round, which means you have the opportunity for redemption, not only in terms of points, but also an added layer of pressure, as it were, in the form of prize money.
Yeah, big fan of this, Jasmine, it has to be said. But don't get me wrong, bragging rights to win a round is brilliant. And obviously every driver strives to maximise their opportunity, get the points on the board leading up towards the major. But now we have the cash incentive. And not only just that, we've got the content awards too.
Oh boy, speaking of content, I know throughout Gamers 8 we saw some teams submitting some of their very best content and best works, but this time around we are giving the opportunity to the folks at home and all of the fans to support their favourite teams, or you know what, maybe even send in a meme or two. But speaking of memers, I know we have the king of all memers joining us on broadcast as well, and you know what, Lewis McGlade had a few choice words to say about you, George, so for anybody that missed it, let's go ahead and find out what he said.
Let's see what the Sixter does up towards line. I think it's going to be like a 46-2, 3 maybe. Perfect. Oh, I'm the best commentator ever. Eat that, George Morgan. Anyway, unprofessional.
Question, how are you feeling about that, George? I know Lewis is grinning smugly.
Well, he's not going to get himself a beta key, I can tell you that now. So there you go. But no, I tell you what, always the keyboard warrior, Lewis McGlade. Wonderful. But yes, no, credit to him. He did call it. So I'll give him that one. But the big question is he's got to back it up now. He's got to predict every driver tonight, whether, to a win, pretty much.
You know what? If you want to take it up with him, duke it out at room 511. That's all I'm saying. Lewis, how does it feel to be back on broadcast, homie?
I mean, look, I love it. I'm really looking forward to spending the next 2 hours basically just ripping into George Morgan, talking about all the great drivers that we've got. This is going to be a lot of fun.
It certainly is, but you were covering the knockout stages on your stream yesterday. So give the folks at home the lowdown. Give us the tea, spill.
Yeah. There was a lot of drama. Let's just go with that. Of course, the highlight of all of that drama really culminated in the first knockout race. There was contact between Mikael Gall and Jeffrey Rietveld coming around Curva Grande. The pair of them going off, the pair of them being removed from this competition. Redline only getting one driver through into the semi-finals. That's Kevin Siggy, who's going to be out in semi-final one. Two teams, being Williams and RHG, got all four drivers through, including a little bit of a birthday boy as well. We'll touch on a little later on. Race victors from Marcel Cinchik, who's fantastic around Monza, and of course our Gamers 8 drivers champion. I mean, you've got to say with Beneke, he's a fantastic driver. Maybe this is the season for him, but we'll wait and see. I'm loving this points format, by the way. It has really changed up how people are battling for those high positions.
Are we going to see a lot more aggressive driving this time around? Is that what you're promising me?
Yeah, no, definitely, because there's now actually a reason for drivers to attack for the lead. So,
well, I know throughout, ESL R1, the first time around from Munich, Gamers 8, people have constantly been spamming away asking for beta keys. So make sure you continue tuning into the stream because we have a bunch to give away. And you know what? As per usual, we want to hear everybody's feedback as well. Let us know what it is that you're enjoying, the new changes that we have, and everything ESL R1 as well. Well, on that note, I think we should go ahead and visit our drivers lineup and all of the fantastic talents we have joining us for our semi-final one. What can you tell me about them, George?
Well, we've got a very hot contest here in semi-final where Marcel Cinchik, the maestro at Monza, of course winning it 3 times at Gamers 8, comes back again here this time and wins the quarter-final round too. Max Beneke did exactly the same. Gamers 8 champion against Spring Series champion. It is going to be a battle of the titans here. Dara McCormack and Jakuba Brzezinski. Williams on a charge. Kuba, incidentally, after a successful run in Gamers 8, being the sole Williams driver qualifying through to the latter stages, he now joins a 4-car Williams team heading into the semis. Kevin Siggy, though, the sole Redline car. Of course, we saw the shock of Jeffrey Rietveld being knocked out after that incident heading through Curva Grande. Can Siggy handle the pressure?
And how about drivers to keep an eye on? Because I know that this is going to be a spicy race, to say the very least.
Yeah, well, definitely the driver to watch. I think many people will be looking at him is that of Jakub Brzezinski. This man representing that of Williams Esports, a driving talent that has a lot of promise, coming off the back of a very successful run in Gamers 8, as I alluded to, being the sole Williams driver getting through to that latter stage. He is now qualified again, along with 3 of his teammates, to the semi-finals here in round 1, and has a great chance of picking up the big prizes here at Monza.
Well, you know what? Speaking of very good chances, I'm going to go ahead and get my prediction in first before anybody else steals it from me. And I'll give you my explanation, my reasoning for doing so. And you can counter that or agree with that. I reckon Marcel Chinchik is going to secure this one, have it in the bag. He's obviously joined alongside Erhan Yayovsky. And we know they are very much so the dynamic duo. So who else are you going to be keeping your eye on?
Well, I personally will be taking a look at Maximilian Benneker as well. These two that have been head-to-head time and time again. Let's take a look at the stats, folks, of course. The top 3 in the statistics you can see here are from the current round, the current championship here in full season. But you've got the bottom 2, the top 6 in the podiums that encompass the overall where these drivers have performed in ESL R1. That includes the Spring Series and also Gamers 8. 25 total points they share, 25 average points per round they share too, with an average grid position of 1, seeing as they both won their quarter-final rounds. But just take a look at those top 6s. 29 for Marcel Chinchik, the Hungarian dwarfing that of Max Benneker, who only has 13 to his name in terms of podiums as well. Marcel Chinchik, a massive 20 against that of a 36.36% strike rate, 8 going to that of Max Benneker.
And you know, it's obviously worth mentioning, these are 2 of our driver champions as well. So I don't doubt for a split second they're certainly going to be butting heads, or cars as it were, on the track as well. But okay, Max Benneker is your prediction. Marcel is mine. I think without further ado, we should go ahead and bring Lewis in and find out his prediction and find out whether or not he's going to disagree with you once again.
You know that I'm definitely going to disagree with George. I have to. I am going to go for a call to win, being James Baldwin. I think that the BOP is actually looking really, really good this round at the moment. So I'm going to lean a little bit towards James. I know what quality driver he is. But I'm going to make an even bolder prediction than that. I don't think that Maximilian Benneker is going to be going through to the final. Now, I said this a little bit beforehand. It's not about pace. There is a vibe about it right now. I'm just not sure that Benneker's going to be able to do it. Also, because it really disagrees with George. So...
Yeah, well, I mean, I personally think that is absolutely disgraceful, Lewis McGlade. But there we have it. Here is the layout here for Monza, taking us around. Max Benneker, Sector 1 record and Sector 2 record. Let me just remind you that is the driver that Lewis McGlade expects is to be knocked out here in this session. But just take a look at this circuit, folks. High speed, plenty of chicanes on show. Retifilio, Rogier, and then through towards the Ascari chicane, heading down towards Kerber Alvaretto, where they'll then start yet another lap. In terms of a race lap record, in fact, it's Dane Warren who holds on to it, a 1:45.995. And it's all about pace, really, isn't it, Lewis? And maximising your line heading through the very tight chicanes.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about pace around this circuit. I mean, you were saying there, chucking out names, like Marcel Chinchik, Maximilian Benneker, and of course Dane Warren there, who's got the race record. Those are, realistically, when it comes to the stats, we've got the fastest drivers around here. All 3 of them are in this semi-final. I mean, both the semi-finals are really, really strong. It is what it is. We're in practice at the moment. As you can see in the top left, we've got about 30 seconds before we get through into the qualifying for this. I have to think, by the way, I do know that there has been one slight change that people might not be aware of. If we remember back to ESL R1 in the spring season, and of course at Gamers 8, you might not know this as well, George, so listen in. The order they would go out in qualifying was actually based on how they were in practice. It would be their practice order. So if Mac Backham is fastest in practice, then he would be the first one to go out. He wouldn't be going out in this, though, because he's not in the... It's fine. We're not going to talk about it. That is not the case now. I believe it's a random order for this season. At least that's what I got told yesterday. So who knows?
Yeah, it could throw a spanner in the works, because obviously if drivers are not necessarily prepared for when they're going to go out, that can obviously throw maybe the odd spanner in the works, especially around a fast track like Monza. But in itself, we have seen Marcel Chinchik dominate here at Monza time and time again, Lewis. You can't fault Jasmine for making the selection she did, really, based on his recent form.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those things that's really wild. That as much as he doesn't have those, the Sector 1 and Sector 2, that belongs to Maximilian Benneker around here when it comes to the very fastest ones that we've seen. There is something about the record that Marcel Chinchik has around here. Of course, won here 3 times in Gamers 8, won here, of course, to take the spring season crown, and of course, won yesterday. I think he's a great choice to take this victory. And had it not already been picked, I would be picking Marcel Chinchik for this race. But I'm still going to stick with James Baldwin. I am not a cheat, George Morgan. I stick to
it. Well, generally you copy me, so I was quite surprised you didn't go down the Benneker route, to be quite honest. So there we go. I mean, looking ahead, however, yeah, it is a new season, fresh start, fresh perspective. But I mean, just looking at this semi-final one that we have here, just look at some of the names. Marcel Chinchik, Spring Series champion, Gamers 8 champion in that of Maximilian Benneker. And then you've got some of the other names that you've got whittled down this list. It really is daunting. You've got the likes of Dara McCormack featuring as well, not to mention the likes of Jayovsky, Dane Warren, Kevin Siggy, who there's a huge, a huge battle on his shoulders, because of course for Siggy and Team Redline, who are largely very successful as a unit, Siggy is the sole proprietor for Team Redline this time around. There's going to be a huge amount of pressure on his shoulders here, Lewis.
Yeah, now, you're absolutely right. I mean, with Siggy being the only one representing such a large team. But I did think, we were saying this before in Saudi Arabia at Gamers 8, that maybe this is going to be the new season for Kevin Siggy, that potentially he's going to turn things around for his championship and maybe start to head up towards the lead of the team, which is where we kind of expect. We are in qualifying. This is the very first lap time that we're seeing. It is in the hands of my pick, James Baldwin, coming down the back stretch. We'll get graphics and times to you as soon as possible, but I will note, again, we've got a brand new graphics package for this season, so if things do go awry, bear with us. It's a large process getting all these graphics and stuff to you at home. James Baldwin will come through the final corner and up towards the line. George, he does not look particularly pleased with that lap time as he crosses it. I can only imagine it's somewhere in the mid 1:46s. They need a low 1:46.
Yeah, huge pressure, I think, on the shoulders again of James Baldwin. We talk about the pressure element. You really do feel the pressure here in ESL R1. We saw lots of it at Gamers 8. We saw lots of it in the Spring Series, all the way back at Katowice, time and time again. Williams, who are looking to follow suit after a tremendous run in the quarterfinals. Of course, they're having the likes of Jakuba Brzezinski, not to mention Dara McCormack as well, that are going to feature here in this session tonight. So keep your eyes peeled, see whether they can follow suit after a tremendous run in the quarterfinals. Let's see whether they can do the same in the semis. But I have to tell you, if you've got Dara McCormack or indeed Kuba Brzezinski behind the wheel, you're going to be in for a very, very good chance. Both of them very solid talents.
Yeah, certainly. So just trying to get, I believe Mitchell de Jong will be the next one to come through. Trying to wait for some lap times to come through. I'm using the Rennsport app now to try and get some live times from all of us. I can tell you that James Baldwin's on a 46.3. De Jong will cross the line and will eventually get his lap time. But I am starting to get some through. Next up will be Maximilian Benneker. This is your choice, George. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, Max Benneker now rounding the Kerber Alboreto. Now, this was the man who posted the fastest sector times in Sector 1 and Sector 2. He's going to make his way now down through towards the start-finish line. Let's see his reaction, see whether it is a positive one. He looks, well, fairly normal, fairly average. Doesn't even, I tell you what, not even a blink of emotion, has to be said. But he didn't look unhappy, though, at this point, Lewis. So I'm going to take that as a positive.
Yeah, certainly so. Obviously, the times that I'm getting, by the way, on the Rennsport app are slightly delayed, bearing in mind where we are actually with the live session. So apologies that we're getting them through a little slower. Brzezinski set at 46.2. Here comes the Sigster out towards the line. We'll see what his reaction is. Not racing in his usual setup. Not particularly pleased by that lap time, but he didn't look super disappointed. We haven't seen him slapping the wheel like what he's done a fair few times. He certainly did that a lot in Munich, but not so much on this occasion. By the way, de Jong's lap time was a 46.5.
Oh, there we are, 46.5 for Mitchell de Jong. We now have the new Mercedes Apex Racing Team car, of course, announcing their partnership not too long ago. Of course, they're going to be featuring Kevin Ellis Jr. here tonight. And of course, here in semi-final one, as he now crosses the line. And we can't yet see a reaction of him, but I'm sure Lewis will be able to update us very shortly via the app. Oh, so useful. Highly recommend you guys at home as well, get involved, get onto the Rennsport app. Very useful piece of equipment. Another man who's looking for a useful app is Thomas Tatler. Take us through it, Lewis.
Yeah, Tatler ended up finishing in 6th position yesterday. Will be yet another driver to come through. I think is the lone heroic driver in this competition between the semi-finals and obviously moving on through the competition. Let's see what Tatler will do across the line. I can confirm at the moment, first position in this is done by Maximilian Benneker. He's set a 46.127. He is ahead of Team Redline's Kevin Siggy, who's on the front row. Then it's Brzezinski, Baldwin, and then De Jong. We'll let you know the other lap times as soon as they come through, as we'll see into that final complex. It's Dane Warren.
Dane Warren now making his way up towards the line. I'm going to enter my smoke face for now because, of course, Max Benneker top of the tree. In comes Dane Warren as he crosses the line, has a little look to his left. Again, very pensive. No response there from Dane Warren, as now we see the R8G make its way down through towards Kerber Alboreto. And of course, this being helmed by the likes of Marcel Cinczyk, who I'm sure will be looking to do the same again. Erhan Yujovski, also part of the semi-final one brigade too. Plenty on offer. Here comes Cinczyk, the Hungarian. Where do you think he's going to be, Lewis?
Well, we can see the lap times in the bottom left. Again, the lap time he's aiming for is a 46.1. He'll cross the line. 46.140. I'm going to tell you now, look at these lap times. I was literally just about to touch on this. This is insanely close. Tatler's set at 46.1. Benneker's set exactly the same time. Marcel Cinczyk has slotted into the tiniest gap behind Dane Warren. Kevin Ellis Jr. is right up there as well. And Kevin Siggy all separated by 0.06 of a second, as Isaac Price will be the next one to come across the line. Just 2 more drivers after this, being Erhan Yujovski and Dara McCormack. Price will come up toward the line. I'm not sure it's looking great. He has had a slowdown on this lap, George, but wow, how close is that?
Very, very tricky indeed. Isaac Price crossing the line very nearly 2 seconds off the pace of Thomas Tatler. Incredible to see Benneker matching as well, blow for blow, without a Tatler up at the top. Heroic on for a heroic lap indeed. And now Yujovski looking to enter himself into the fold. 34.7 in Sector 1, 35.5 in Sector 2. Needs a big push now in Sector 3 to at least launch a charge at somebody. But look at the top 6, all within 61 thousandths of a second. Wow. As now across the line goes Yujovski to the top with a 146.081, blasts away Tatler and Benneker. 47 thousandths the difference. Sensational.
Yeah, and you may think, hey, that's Dara McCormack looking like he's from a slightly different angle. He's moved a lot around. I can't remember if he's moved room in his house or what have you, but he's certainly changed things around. Has Dara McCormack, as he'll come through the final corner. He's not looking pleased. Shake of the head. He'll come across the line. It'll be a 46.1. It's still good enough for second, but he knew there was pole in there somewhere. But it is Erhan Yujovski on pole position. R8G love this track, and it is yet another Audi R8 on pole position. George, we'll take a look at the grid, of course, presented by our partners in VRS. You've got Isaac Price and Mitchell de Jong started from the back of the field. Then there's my pick, James Baldwin. Sorry, lad. He'll be starting from 10th position. Then you get Brzezinski, Kevin Siggy and Kevin Ellis Jr. I mean, Ellis Jr. is within a 10th of a second of pole position, but he's outside of that all-important top 6. Dane Warren, the fastest race lap being taken by him around this circuit. Then there's Marcel Cinczyk, our spring season champion. Maximilian Benneker, the Gamers 8 drivers champion. Thomas Tatler with a heroic lap, as you said, George. Dara McCormack, and of course, Erhan Yujovski taking our very first VRS pole position of the year. He's a quality driver, and he delivers around here. R8G have something special around the Autodromo Internazionale di Monza, and once again, it is them on top. He finished 3rd in his knockout yesterday. He's looking to go slightly better here in the semi-final, George.
Yeah, he certainly is. A great start as well to his campaign in full season. As witnessed already his teammate Marcel Cinczyk scoop up the big prizes in the Spring Series. Could it be the turn of Erhan Yujovski? Could it be the turn of R8G again to hit the top? They've already made a good start. And of course, it's all roads to the final. Every point counts. But it's not going to be simple, is it, Lewis, heading into turn 1?
Certainly not. Well, you got some beta keys down there, so keep your eye on all of that. There's another one from George. Here's one from me. We were here recently. This is our last little stop, but on the back of this, another beta key. So many beta keys. They'll be given out all the way through this broadcast. So if you haven't had yours yet, obviously, for one, find a link, get typing. It'll be a pretty difficult process to type them all out, but that's exactly the competition that you're all basically in for on the Epic Store. Go and redeem your codes. They'll be given out all the way through this broadcast. So if you've not been given beta access to Rennsport now and you've been irritated by that, well, now's your time. Let's all get on it. I was driving around on it yesterday, and it was embarrassing because I am not very good anymore. Let's just go with that.
No, and your prediction wasn't any better either, it has to be said. I mean, what happened with Baldwin?
I don't know. To be fair, I will say, when a session is that close, George, you know, when you've got a tenth of a second separating that kind of margin, I mean, James Baldwin's a quality driver, but if you miss, you know, even an apex by the smallest margin, boom, that's it. Your lap's gone.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I think, obviously, we look at the times as well. I mean, initially, the top 6 were all within 61 thousandths of a second. We saw that earlier on. Then, obviously, Erhan Yujovski blasted them away, 47 thousandths faster than that of Beneke. But it's over to you, Lewis. Take us away.
Yeah, so the first semi-final of the new season is about to get underway. It's Erhan Yujovski from pole position. Dara McCormack will be alongside in the front row as we head down towards the Retifilio for the first time. It's a decent start for the Irishman as he's going to draw alongside the Macedonian. He looks back one way as he's trying to send it in. It's going to be Yujovski hanging on to the race lead. There's contact galore at the first corner. In fact, a little bit between Thomas Tattler and Maximilian Beneke. Thankfully, they managed to all get through it quite cleanly towards the front, but it was fairly dramatic into that first sector. It's only going to build up towards the Rogier, George.
Yeah, I tell you what, heading down towards Rogier now, still side by side. We're seeing them all together now. Enter the RAG of Marcel Cinčić around the inside too. It will become the inside, was the outside, heading through Curva Grande, but they wrestle through now. This next section, Thomas Tattler under pressure here now as Dane Warren looks to go down the inside, heading through Lesmo 1. Will hold the tighter inside line 2, as now the peppering Audi in behind. RAG are coming in full guns blazing. Cinčić not content with staying in 6th place.
Oh, Brzezinski got pushed out wide as well. He's in a feisty battle with Baldwin, with Kevin Ellis Jr. as well. Let's see this side-by-side up towards Ascari, and who is going to yield? You've got Baldwin and Ellis Jr. side-by-side. In the middle of all of this is poor Mitchell de Jong, thinking about where he's going to go in all of this. Baldwin heads towards the front of this field to 8th position. But of course, remember, whilst they are all fighting for points for these spots, they need to get inside the top 6. That is still what progresses you through in the ESL R1, as it always has done. Baldwin up to 8th. Frustrations for those in the pack, but you can see Brzezinski's trying to remain calm as through the middle comes Isaac Price. Nope, it is Mitchell de Jong actually looking down the inside of Brzezinski.
Yeah, Brzezinski now being forced out wide, heading through Curva Alboreto. They're going to make their way down the straight yet again, and the Williams is going to look to take them all to task here. Brzezinski, though, being joined by Mitchell de Jong as they head down the stretch. Here comes Dara McCormack. He's going to challenge Erhan Yujovski for the race lead. Takes it as well, and now bursts down towards the Retifilio chicane. We've got a 3-wide scenario as well. The other Williams, the sister Williams of Yakuba. Brzezinski now makes his way through, battles back against Mitchell de Jong, holds him back, and a mistake there from Kevin Ellis Jr. He's on free fall here and is now dropping to the back of the field.
I'm actually not sure that was a mistake. I think he got escorted off. This brand new partnership between the Apex Racing team and Mercedes AMG is not working out too much, because it was a Mercedes AMG Petronas Esports team that pushed him off. James Baldwin giving him a big squeeze on the exit of the first corner. I wouldn't actually be too surprised if that was a penalty potentially coming the way for Baldwin, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. You'll see the checks next to everyone's name. You've got red, you've got pink. It's not fully worked. Let's not jump straight to conclusion, but eventually it will be the red, will be penalties. The pink, though, the purple, is absolutely the fastest lap, which is presently held from Erhan Yujovski, although I get the feeling that might switch to Dara McCormack. Excellent move into T1. I don't know if Beneke is going to fight him straight away if he's going to try and get past Yujovski, but this is the joy of the new points format, Georgie, that the top 3 will fight in this race if they get chance.
Yeah, well, we saw it from Dara McCormack, didn't we? Obviously challenging there for the front end. Went round the outside of Erhan Yujovski heading in towards turn 1. Managed to pull the move off too. Still is Yujovski out in 2nd place, holding on to that fastest lap so far. Beneke applying a little bit of pressure, growing closer and closer now to Yujovski's rear wing, as now the Audi makes its way down the straight, chasing the sister Audi before then venturing through the Retifilio chicane. You can see Beneke in the bottom left of your screen, looking as composed as ever as he looks to analyse a possible overtake heading in towards turn 1. They now make their way down there now into the first chicane. Still no move here from Beneke, but already Thomas Tattler also scrapping back, but Dane Warren holding on to 4th with Cinčić muscling around in behind. Remember, Cinčić 6th place only a couple of laps ago. He remains there, but is still pressuring for that 5th spot.
Yeah, I got told, by the way, coming into this round that the BOP is actually, for at least here right now, is really, really solid. Do you know what? I think I'm seeing that. I think the BOP actually looks great right now. You saw how close it was in qualifying. You're seeing what we've got up here. You've got a Mercedes leading, followed by 2 Audi R8s, a couple of Porsches, another Audi R8. You've got a BMW just on the cusp of going through as well in the hands of Kevin Siggy. This is looking pretty close. This is exactly what we want to see. It is as tight as it can be. There is a look at your race leader. Of course, you've got Kevin Siggy on the left-hand side of your screen. Your race leader right down there. Not looking particularly calm, I've got to say. I think he can see that Erhan Yoski is right on the rear end of him. And of course, in the championship that we had for the spring season, it was Erhan Yoski that was really the decider that assisted his teammate into that victory.
Yeah, absolutely right indeed. I'm just looking, Kevin Siggy right now, he's in P7. Remember, you need to be in the top 6 to proceed into the final. And naturally, Redline, down to 1 driver, they've got every ounce of confidence in this young man, I'm sure. But at the same time, it's such a large undertaking for Kevin Siggy to essentially fly the flag for Team Redline. He's really got to pull it together, heading out of Curva Alvareto now. Lap 3 of 9. We've still got plenty more to go as they make their way down towards the Reto Filio chicane. Now very shortly ahead of him, Marcel Cinčić, who is now giving chase to Beneker. Still now just outside of 1.5 tenths of a second, but losing time down the straight. But one man who isn't losing time at all is that of Thomas Sattler, now forcing a move here against that of Dane Warren, heading through turn 1. This one opened the door for Marcel Cinčić. They rub certainly together as they head now out towards the Curva Grande. It is still, though, Dane Warren marshalling off any attack here as Thomas Sattler, frustrated, waiting in behind in 5th place, knows he has to jettison forward because Cinčić will pounce on every move possible.
Yeah, Thomas Tattler's trying to close in now. I will remind you, again, looking back at some previous statistics and stuff that we've had, remember that Dane Warren, Thomas Tattler, they've only reached the finals of a competition a handful of times. Dane Warren twice over his ESL R1 career when it came to the spring season, and Thomas Tattler just the once. That was at the Nürburgring. This is another look back at this squeeze that I was talking about with James Baldwin pushing out Kevin Ellis Jr. That was naughty. That was genuinely quite naughty. Obviously, yeah, you got to be the whole. Whose line was it? Whose car? Whatever. Nah, that's rubbish. In my opinion, James Baldwin did just squeeze Kevin Ellis Jr. out there. I like James. I've got a lot of time for him, but that was not ideal. They are racing hard though, and sometimes when you're racing hard, you're not so much thinking about racing fair.
No, I think especially when you got prize money on the line and the advancement in the point system too, it really does allow it to become a lot more competitive. And certainly at this point, we're seeing that on show here. Dara McCormack still holding his own out in front. And there you see Thomas Tattler in the bottom left of your screen. 3 podiums in season 1 to date, but is now going to come under pressure again, though he will try and place that pressure upon Dane Warren now. The Porsche Co-Anda team that have enjoyed so much success. They enjoyed success at Gamers 8 as well. Of course, taking that team's championship. Marcel Cinčić as well has taken plaudits in his own right since Spring Series. We now see them run wheel to wheel still. And now Tattler and Dane Warren will come together again. Marcel Cinčić right in behind. Looks to make it a 3 wide, heading through Curva Grande. In behind Kevin Siggy. Also looking to muscle his way through. Tattler forcing the issue as he makes his way through the Grande section. Heading down towards the Rogier. Look at Cinčić on the inside too. It's going to become the inside, heading through towards Rogier. The R8G looking to propel itself forward. A double overtake in the offing as Dane Warren comes under excruciating pressure. Enter now as well Kevin Siggy. It's 2x2. Noah's Ark through the Lesmo as they run wheel to wheel. It is still holding back the tide. Dane Warren, a sensational job of keeping Cinčić behind.
Wow, welcome to the new season of ESL R1, ladies and gentlemen. That was incredible. But Dane Warren, like you say, still in 4th position. Marcel Cinčić and Kevin Siggy now getting themselves inside that top 6. Disaster for Thomas Tattler. James Baldwin back inside the fight as they head down towards Ascari. There's contact though as Baldwin's trying to make his way through. There's contact between himself and Thomas Tattler, and Jakub Brzezinski's come through. It's all fallen apart for the heroic team. And Tattler, who ended the previous season in such disarray, continues that trend in the new season.
Certainly does, and I tell you what, Chinchik also on a burst as well as he looks to try and challenge Dane Warren. We've got a 3-wide attack here as well. Isaac Price sandwiched here between that of Kevin Ellis Jr. as well as Mitchell de Jong, who is now being pushed well out wide, because obviously someone has to when you're in a 3-wide scenario going around Kerber Alboreto. As a result now, Kevin Ellis Jr. will have the better line heading down the long straight, but that will all be written off now by Isaac Price, who is going to look to split the difference and head down the middle again. You just can't keep the man down as the G2 Esports car looks to find its way through. Down in towards turn 1 they go. Surely it can't work. It simply can't. Isaac Price. Oh, that's stunning. Isaac Price on the move down the middle manages to cultivate a P9 heading out of that section, but he's still got a long way to go to get into the top 6.
Yeah, maybe there's not going to be a position for the top 6 up for grabs for this lot, but they are all fighting for positions for points as well. Again, 9th position has 3 points, 2 for 10th as there's more contact, and all this is for the important positions as Kevin Siggy is trying to get one done. There's contact in the background. I think that might be Thomas Tattler, who's gone over to the left-hand side of the shot, the right-hand side of the circuit, exiting the Rogier. Let's see if Kevin Siggy can maybe sneak one on the spring season champion. There could still be drama left in this race, and plenty of it. They're 5 seconds behind the top 3 in the race, who have checked out for the final 3 laps, and I'm sure there is going to be a battle between McCall, Majewski and Beneke for the very first win in the semi-final stage here, of course, in the spring season. But wow, this is going to be tough stuff. The tall order: Dane Warren, Marcel Chinchik, Kevin Siggy, James Baldwin, Jakub Brzezinski, Isaac Price, Kevin Ellis Jr., Mitchell de Jong and Thomas Tattler. I've got to say, they're all in this fight for sure for those final 3 positions inside that top 6.
Yeah, they certainly are. I tell you what, it's all coming together very slowly but surely. Lap 6 of 9. James Baldwin right on the cusp of getting into the top 6. He's on the bubble, or should I say Kevin Siggy on the bubble right now, because of course he has got the force. That is James Baldwin right behind him. Jakub Brzezinski also in this fight. Don't count him out. 1 move away from potentially upsetting the apple cart here and bringing 2 Williamses into the fight, as now we're seeing Chinchik and Dane Warren go at it here with Kevin Siggy in behind. Look at them, 3 wide as well further back. Oh, James Baldwin outside line now. Also entering the fight, Jakub Brzezinski rumbled over the curbs. They all had to squeeze through somehow, and now wheel to wheel, Siggy under pressure. They enter Kerber Grande. Can Mustachio hold back the tirade? Enter Kuba Brzezinski, and he's going to barracuda his way down the inside as well as they run wheel to wheel again. 2 Mercs collide with a BMW out in front, heading in towards the Rogier, still wheel to wheel as they venture through. Kuba Brzezinski with a tighter line gets past James Baldwin in clinical style, and Isaac Price has joined the party.
This is simply incredible. Now Kevin Ellis Jr. is back in on the fight as well in the brand new Mercedes AMG team, Apex Racing team. Obviously, it should be interesting to see what he can do in that Merc. He's got plenty of good results in the ESL R1 and might well be able to find himself another one. Right on board with him on the right-hand side of your screen, watching all of this fight. I've got to say, James Baldwin's biting off a little bit more than he can chew sometimes this fight, maybe overdriving his Mercedes AMG Petronas Esports team car a few times, and obviously it's cost him a couple of positions and potentially cost him a chance. I will say both sides of the commentators' courtesy working now. Still don't believe in it, but yeah, it's not looking great for my predictions. It's fine. Still got some here, some awards. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Tough day at the office for poor Lewis McGlade, as now we're seeing certainly Kevin Ellis Jr. now trying a move, perhaps down the inside of Kerber Alboreto. Baldwin now under real jeopardy as he now continues to descend down the field. It really hasn't been an ideal day at the office for the world's fastest gamer. Currently sits in 9th place. Kevin Ellis Jr. in 10th as well. Beneke on the rise, though, as he looks to challenge Johan Jurowski. Now, we've seen RAG and Mouse come together time and time again. The 2 Audis now colliding still here at the Italian track of Monza. Monza, should I say. The Temple of Speed now lighting up as the Mouse looks to pounce here around Kerber Grande. He might have the line heading down through towards the Rogier, trying to slingshot his way forward against that of the RAG. That at the helm of Johan Jurowski as they head now in towards the next left and right wheel to wheel. They remain. Mouse, certainly they're being squeeze. Max Beneke probably wouldn't appreciate that, but he will have the overspeed heading out of the Rogier in towards the first Lesmo. Chucks it down the inside. They rub together, but Jurowski still trying to defy every move that Beneke makes. A little bit of verbal coming from Beneke's mouth. I don't think he liked that one bit, Lewis.
No, I mean, okay, so I made the prediction that Beneke wasn't going to make his way through into the final. It is reasons like that that I have that concern. He wasn't even remotely alongside going to the Lesmo. He's taken a lot of risk. He's tried to get alongside. He has been squeezed off a little bit there by Yuyovski, but he continues to take a lot of risk on the rear of the Macedonian. I know there's an extra few points up for offer, 4 in total, which will mean something when we get into that season finale in Sweden. But for right now, I've got to say, Beneke's taken a lot of risk. And it's not like he's trying to make a move in a safe and orderly way like down into T1 or anything. He's taking a lot of risk, trying to get it down late into the Rogier, trying to get it late down into Lesmo, trying to get an overlap. Yeah, fair enough, going into Ascari. That one is on Yuyovski's, fair enough. But this is why I was a little bit concerned. It is not the pace that's the problem, it's the mentality, and that has been the way for Beneke a few times. We know he's fast enough, we know he's good enough. He is our Gamers 8 Drivers champion, and now he's trying to get past Yuyovski again at T1, George.
Yeah, he is trying to squeeze down the inside, heading through 1 and 2. Retafilio now lights up with the 2 Audis together as now Yuyovski looks to try and fight back against Beneke now as they rub together still. Again, the same vision. A different chapter, though, here in lap 9 of 9, the final lap underway, as now Yuyovski and Beneke rub wheel to wheel, heading down now towards the Rogier chicane. Dara McCormack blissfully out in front, 1.8 seconds to the good, as now we see them come together through the next right and left. They come together still, they make contact, Yuyovski up into the gravel, and Beneke will now proceed onwards and upwards, but will the stewards take a dim view of that, Lewis?
Exactly. This is the thing, is that was that even a requirement? And if you get like a 3 or a 4 second time penalty right now, or even worse than that, you are not moving through in this competition. Again, it's brutal, yes, but if you are not in that top 6, your day is done. You're not going through into the final. You're not scoring any more points. That could be massive in terms of the pair of them and their title race. For Dara McCormack, though, he's only got a few more corners to deal with before he can take a victory. It's looked a little stressful in the opening stages for Dara McCormack. It seemed to calm down a fair amount for Williams. If there is a penalty, it could see both Williams Esports moving through from the first semi-final, meaning they'd be keeping their 100% record up. At the moment, though, it seems though it's just going to be Dara McCormack for the Williams squad continuing. He'll come through the final corner and he will take the first victory in the semi-final one this evening. McCormack on top in what had become a fairly dramatic race, and an opener here for our Friday action. George, this has been a lot of fun, but McCormack again, he's just a quality driver.
Domination from Dara, incredible. And I tell you what, I think the catalyst of that was the big fight, of course, between Yuyovski and Beneke. It allowed him to career away 1.8 seconds clear, Lewis. And, you know, that's what you need to do. That's how you get yourself into the final. Dara's done it in great style.
I can tell you for sure we're going to have a little bit of a delay between this race and the next, courtesy of the race controller. Let's take a look at what was a dramatic first semi-final. Let's take a look at highlights from the race. Of course, Yuyovski starting from pole position. It was fine down into the first corner. A bit of a lunge from Dara McCormack, but watch this in the mid-pack. Little bits of contact, but nothing too major. Kevin Siggy also throwing it in for Team Redline. There was this whole conundrum of Isaac Price saying, I'd actually like a few more positions, making his way up the order. Bits and bobs of contact towards the back of the field. A little bit too much there from Thomas Tatler into the rear end of Kevin Ellis Jr., sending him off at the Rogier. We saw that one in the background. He was able to rejoin and get back into the slipstream. This fight late on between Maximilian Beneke and Erhan Yuyovski saw contact between the pair of them and sending off into the gravel trap. Dara McCormack was a driver that took victory in dominant fashion by almost 4, maybe even 5 seconds across the line. Yeah, looking back on that in highlights, it was a pretty dramatic first semi-final.
It was very dramatic. Lots of moves, and certainly I think you're absolutely right about the BOP as well, Lewis. I think they've definitely got it dialed in this time around. Pretty much an equal footing, it felt, I think, between each of the drivers. We saw a bit of a mix-up there in the midway. Obviously, James Baldwin was a bit unfortunate. I think got squeezed out on a few occasions. Might have, you know, sort of lost out due to some actions that were happening out on circuit. In terms of everything else, though, it really was a pleasure to watch. It was great to see the drivers pushing, certainly at this point, but we are going to throw it across. We've got an interview with none other than Marcel Chinchik.
Marcel, bro, how does it feel to be back at ESL R1 online season?
Yeah, thank you. It's an amazing feeling. Like, it looks like the season starting well, so quite happy. So hopefully gonna go the same way.
And what do you make of all of the brand new ESL R1 changes in the point system? How much of an impact do you feel that's going to end up having?
I think it's a good change because now the race is going to be more exciting, even the quarterfinals and semifinals, because people are going to go for position like I did now for P4. It was important, I guess. So I like the new change.
And how about that added prize money for the rounds as well? Is that playing on your mind at all?
Not really. I didn't think there is prize money for the rounds.
Yeah.
Really?
There we go. So you learn something. Yeah, you learn something new every day. If you finish up in first place, there's always added prize money as well. Well, previously, okay. Marcel, we've been calling you the Monza Monster back at Gamers 8, and you kind of dominated over on Monza in Munich as well. Talk to me a little bit about what you feel you struggled with heading into this one, because obviously we saw Erhan topping the starting grid this time around instead of you.
I think everyone started to have the feeling with the truck, I guess. I think I could adopt really quick, at the beginning. So I had a little bit of advantage, but now it seems more equal. So it was really tough, like the quali. It was really close, the gaps, so it was great.
Well, back at Gamers 8, I know we were talking about it, and you said that you very much prefer competing and playing on stage with a crowd, with all of the cameras and the pressure and everything like that. How much has going from all of that to now online affected you, especially in this race and maybe even going forward as well?
I think it was really similar. Like when we are in the LAN events, I don't really feel any more pressure because of the crowd. I think it's just sometimes helping a bit, At home, maybe it's a bit harder. I felt now the pressure before the quali, and I couldn't really put together a really good lap. But I will try my best to do in the finals.
And what's the game plan now for yourself? Is it going to be focusing more on assisting Erhan heading into the next stages, or are you just going to be focusing on your own race?
I think I'm going to focus on my own race because it's going to be really open, and it's just the first round, so there is no point to help each other at the moment. So, but if in the future, of course, if it needs.
Amazing. Well, Marcel, I'm going to let you get back to it, and I'm looking forward to seeing you race some more.
Thank you.
Oh, boys. Oh, boy, oh, boy. What an exciting race that was. George, I need you to explain to me, commentator's curse, yes or no? Does it exist?
Well, I've always stood firm with Lewis on this, actually, and saying that it doesn't exist. But, I'll be quite honest. I'm starting to maybe be a believer now, especially after that one. Poor James Baldwin was very much in a lot of jeopardy after that one and was thrown right in the mixer. And there was one specific moment I think we can look at in detail, and that was definitely when we saw him coming off the back of colliding with the Williams there further back. Isaac Price then made his way through the first Lesmo. There were quite a few other moments as well to look at. There was one tie-up between him and Kevin Siggy, which certainly did hinder, I think, Baldwin's efforts in achieving. And you can understand why Kevin was going for the big moves as well, seeing as he was the sole red line driver in the mixer for the semi-finals. It really does put that added pressure on him as well. But looking at the semi-final result, another stellar showing from RHG. Give them huge credit again. And it wasn't Marcel Cincin this time, as you alluded to. This time, of course, going to Yujovski taking the third place after achieving pole. Dara McCormack, what a performance, though. Back to the top, where we're used to seeing him as well, especially after winning 2 rounds back in Spring Series and beating a very, very good Maximilian Benneker.
The real question is whether or not he could do it back-to-back. You see, we saw him do it at Munich. We saw him do it online as well. I'm curious to see whether or not Dara has found his groove now that it's back to kind of competing online as well. What do you think? Do you reckon Dara's going to be bringing it back?
Well, in terms of his driving and raw ability, he is that good. He has the raw talent, certainly at the very top. And many do consider him a driver worth watching. He's got a bright future, certainly here in ESL R1. Williams see that. And given the fact that what we saw from him, I think, tonight, I think it just goes to show what he is truly capable of. We saw what he did in Spring Series. I'd stay tuned in. Get your popcorn ready. There's more to come from Magnificent McCormack.
There certainly is. Well, you know what? This would not be ESL R1 without the wonderful folks over at VRS as well. You can unleash your very own potential with VRS. Make sure you're typing an !VRS in the chat to find out some more about all of their fantastic products. And another reminder for everybody tuning in and joining us, we've got more beta keys being given out to play your very own Rensport races over on Epic Games as well. We're going to be scattering them all around the broadcast and also on social media as well. So type in !social to keep an eye on that one. But speaking of Rensport, let's find out a little bit more about the Rensport app. Well, ESL R1 has been a bit of a roller coaster of emotions, not just for the folks that have been tuning in, but also for all of us and ultimately the teams as well. So I'd like to welcome joining me here on the broadcast, the manager for none other than Team Redline. It is Andre Kunchman. Andre, talk to me, man. After the Gamers 8 performance, second place in the team championship for yourself and the boys, what was the team vibe like following that, knowing you were so close to that first place?
Well, Saudi, it's been a while, so right now, we are not really reminiscing of what was, but we are focusing on what is and what will be, right? So obviously we had a good performance, and I think that's something that, we really need to keep an eye on and to keep this in mind, that ultimately if you want to get a top result, I'm not speaking maybe just about the win, but ultimately just the overall, top 3 positions, then you need to be consistent, right? So we showed the consistency in the spring season. We showed it in Saudi as well, where we scored actually most points of any teams. But that's sort of what we struggled with yesterday, and that's put us a bit on the back foot. I'm glad that Kevin was able to make it through into the final. But so we are, let's say, reasonably confident with our pace, but of course, with Rensport and with any sort of simulation where you have a BOP or balance of performance involved, and there will always be a question mark. Well, did we or did someone win because they were the best, or did they win because they had the best car? And that's, that's the challenge that we have currently. That that's the situation, and we need to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, Andre, off the back of what can only be described, I'd imagine you obviously a bit disappointing with the quarterfinals that we have just had, obviously pushing through to the semis with Kevin pretty much leading the force. How do you sort of reassess and perhaps bounce back from a situation where things haven't necessarily gone to plan in terms of the quarterfinals? Do you change things up? Is there a conversation? What type of methods do you have in place to sort of reconfigure your drivers after a moment like that?
I mean, ultimately, racing is about avoiding errors, right? And that's what we failed to do yesterday. Kevin did a great job today. He did a solid job yesterday as well, made it through. So in terms of his feeling, his motivation, or his, let's say, mindset, there is nothing to be adjusted. I think he's, he knows what he's doing at all times. He's a top driver, and, within the capabilities of our car, I'm pretty sure he'll be able to maximize it as much as possible. But for the others, I mean, we know what happened yesterday. So in case of Enzo, he had major challenges with his computer or with the performance of the game. So that's something that we managed to fix only today. And in the case of Luke, there was a failure on his wheel. So that's in terms of, none of those issues are really driver errors. It's just something that we need to stay more on the top of. And so building a more of a stricter or more rigid process in terms of ticking all the boxes to ensure that we are not repeating any of those issues. So, for example, in terms of the wheel, we are considering now going back to our wheels that we have been using for years. So, yeah, that's the situation. But again, drivers overall have done a good job. It's just we need to fine-tune those small issues and remain consistent, because consistency, that's when you get rewarded for the results, and that's what we need to aim for.
And what was the team's reaction to hearing about the brand new point system we have this time around for ESL R1? Was it thumbs up all round?
I think overall, I think it's a good thing that it promotes, I think like Marcel mentioned before, it promotes racing also in quarterfinals and semifinals, and that's what we missed last year. We saw that, whenever we had top 6 position, it's like, okay, let's keep it cool, let's keep it calm, let's finish in top 6 and make it to the next round. So right now, it's, of course, if you get opportunity to go for a move, you will not think twice. I mean, there's a chance you go for it to get extra points. So overall, I think it's better for racing. It promotes racing, and I think that's a good change for sure.
Well, we certainly aim to please over here at ESL R1. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to let you get back to it, get back to the boys, while I chit-chat with you a little bit more, George. Boy, oh boy, it's got to be intense for a lot of these teams and a lot of these drivers, right? To go from the big stage, the intensity, the heart is racing, to suddenly being back online once again. But you know what? Semi-final number 1 is done. We still have another semi-final. So let's go ahead and welcome Lewis back to break down how the knockout races yesterday for 3 and 4 panned out. How are we doing, Lewis? Talk to me.
Yeah, I mean, I just got to say, I'm still recovering from that semi-final race. Absolute madness in that. And by the way, Race Control have had a lot to say about it, so we'll get into that in a moment, and I'll apply my smug face in a moment. But focusing on, like we said, knockout 3 and 4, Marko Pejic was the one that took victory in knockout 3, but it was actually a really interesting race because Johan Harth had the pole position, and that's a name that we've seen not too often right at the front of competition in ESL R1, so that was very impressive to see. Joshua Rogers, Yuri Toman, obviously they're making their way through. Same with Keithley and Barneveld. Barneveld actually had a really solid race in the first of those knockouts. And then knockout 4 was pretty much par for the course. Sebi Jobe comes in. It's like, yeah, I'm going to win this race. And guess what? He won the race. It wasn't like that dramatic in that one because Job just did the job. Wisniewski, Oliveira was really, really impressive up there. Thibaut Casbon, whose birthday boy today, manages to work his way through. Some big drama in the fact of Moritz Lerner not coming through, Enzo Benito, Luke Bennett. Big names getting knocked out.
Yeah, I gotta say, it was a very big surprise, especially hearing about, only one of the Red Line boys managing to make it on through to today's races. Certainly it's got to be tough for the entire team. But let's focus a little bit more on Sebastian Jobe, because George, I know from the very moment he joined ESL R1, all eyes were on him. Incredible driver. And then we started questioning, what happens when we get to Gamers 8? And you know what? He continued to stun and amaze us. So do you think this is Sebastian Jobe's season? Do you think G2 have got what it takes?
Absolutely. I think they're a team that have improved time after time. We just saw Isaac Price as well, not afraid to make the big moves. He flew the flag for G2 very well in that last race. But Sebastian Jobe is a staunch professional, and certainly off the back of a blissful career in sim racing that has granted him a Porsche Carrera Cup championship. In fact, I think he went ahead and did it a second time as well. Off the back of that, now also a sim driver for Red Bull Racing in the Formula One world as well. So he is just so good at what he does and is able to transfer the skill sets that he's got from other sims and plant it fully into Rennsport, which I think is fantastic.
Well, you know what? We've continued to see surprises left, right and centre, and Apex Racing Team have a little bit of a surprise of their own as well, as they've recently just signed a deal as a performance team with AMG Mercedes. So talk to me a little bit more about this team, some of these drivers and the changes we might expect to see from their results.
Yeah, well, many would call Apex Racing Team almost the underdogs of the series in many ways, but they have been around for such a long time and vastly experienced in the world of sim racing in general. Johan Harth is certainly going to be one to watch when we head into our next race. Kevin Ellis Jr., we just saw him too, and he was absolutely stellar back at Gamers 8, pulling off one of the most sensational qualifying laps. I think we witnessed right through the series, also winning races too. He is just so good, and they have got so much ability, but clinching the deal with Mercedes could yet propel them higher and higher, and I'd be very interested to see where that takes them.
I'll do some more digging and I'll let you know what I end up finding on that. I'll give you the latest scoop over here, George. Let's go ahead and take a look at all of our drivers for semi-final number 2. Monza once again, of course. Talk to me about this lineup. The Team Williams boys, they're going to be looking for another victory heading into this.
They certainly will do, and we've got obviously the 2 winners, Marco Pajic up at the sharp end. They'll be looking to try and drive forward for Mercedes once again. Sebastian Job definitely is one to watch as well after a stellar run in the quarterfinals. Again, though, Williams with a name at the top end. Nikodem Wisniewski in 3rd place. Johan Harth, one of the surprise packages, I think, for ART. Hasn't necessarily wowed everyone in the spring series and also that of Gamers 8, but he certainly did in the quarterfinals yesterday and is very well worth that semi-final 2 visit. Kaiki Oliveira, another success story for the Furia team. He has really been their leader, and it's great to see him back in the semis this time around.
Well, speaking a little bit more about Johan Harth being the lone rep, as it were, for Apex Racing Team, do you think he has what it takes to take on the competition, especially knowing that there's some teams in there that might be gunning for him?
Yeah, well, measured and certainly prolific. That describes that of Johan Harth. You speak to him, he's a very controlled human being. You look at him, he takes everything in his stride, but at the same time isn't afraid to make the big moves. And I think that encompasses this young man. Certainly has come across into Rennsport, has really represented his team, Apex Racing Team, really well. And now having a chance here at perhaps even getting a spot in the final. And based on the momentum he carried through from the quarterfinals, you would never, ever write him off.
And what about some other drivers we should be keeping an eye on? Because obviously we have the birthday boy joining us. Will he be able to take away a victory?
Well, Thibaut, I think he is, certainly one to watch. And naturally, though, being set up upon by that of Jack Heathley as well. Williams, like I said, in a very good, rich vein of form right now. If we take a look at the stats, remember, top 3 in the stats ladder, that is the current season. That, of course, being the full season. And then, of course, we have the overalls that taken all the way back from the spring series. Thibaut Casabon does outweigh Jack Heathley just that little bit, I think you can see by the overall stats. But nevertheless, both of them, I would say, are equally matched in certain areas. Thibaut has been one of those drivers that has certainly improved over the last, I think, over the last couple of competitions where we've been racing here on Rennsport. He has really garnered improvements time and time again. And I think we'll see some more of that here tonight.
I'm wondering whether or not we're going to see a brand new winner taking place. I can only cross my fingers and hope so. But for anybody that's only just joining us, we've shaken things up over here at ESL R1. So let's give you the lowdown on the brand new format.
The ESL R1 2023 full season is about to start, and this is everything you need to know before it lights out. 12 teams consisting of 4 drivers will battle for a prize pool of €225,000 and, of course, for the distinction of being crowned ESL R1 2023 full season champions. Before the trophy can be lifted, the drivers have to complete an 8 online rounds to earn enough points to secure them a seat at the major at DreamHack Winter in Jönköping. Each round consists of 4 knockout races, 2 semi-finals and 1 final. In every round, teams will nominate 1 driver to compete in the knockout races. The top 6 drivers in each race will qualify for the next stage. In every race, drivers earn points individually for the driver championship and for their respective teams in the team championship. Drivers earn between 0 and 25 points in the knockout races and semi-finals, and between 0 and 35 points in the final. Points earned will depend on their placement in each race. The initial 8 online rounds are all about gaining as many points as possible, both individually and for the team, as the team championship culminates in round 8. From there on, the top 24 drivers will secure a seat at the major at DreamHack Winter Games in Jönköping.
Well, there we have it, folks, and that's what that's where the road leads to. The major coming up at the end of this year. But first of all, we've got a semi-final 2 to digest. Also want to take a little look back as well. Semi-final 1, Lewis, it got a little spicy towards the end, and the stewards certainly, I mean, I'm watching the Rennsport app like a hawk right now, and there have been some changes, quite dramatic ones at that. Yeah, I think we're missing some audio, I think, on Lewis's side at the moment, so bear with us, folks.
Me.
But
That's me. Don't worry.
Oh, he's
That's
back.
Me.
He's
Classic.
back.
Classic. I like keeping people on the edge. I just like keeping people. It's fine. I'm now nervous now. What I was going to say is Maximilian Benneker has been dropped down to 9th position in those post-race penalties. So, George, I was right. Let's just get it out there. You can congratulate me, please. Congratulate me for.
I'll half congratulate you because James Baldwin still didn't get through, so he's still down in 8th place. So I'll half congratulate you on that.
George,
am I going to try the?
You don't have one of these. Hang on.
Tremendous, yeah. Well, oh, you mean a beta key?
Another one.
There we are. Oh, another beta key.
Another
there we are,
beta
beta keys for everybody. So make sure you get on board with this. So, yeah, there we have it, folks. If you want to get your hand on your beta keys, here they are. So make sure you get yourself some access to the Rennsport game. Of course, getting access to the beta through Epic. Make sure you do that as well. The codes here will be fluttering around as we make our way through the night. But looking ahead to this semi-final 2, Lewis, again, we've got another enthralling competition on our hands with Sebastian Job, of course, topping his tree in quarter-final 4. Quarter-final 3 going to that of Marko Pejic. Mercedes, I think, will be looking for retribution, I think, in this one.
Yeah, potentially so. But I mean, I've got to say, Graham Carroll did a really good job to get through to this point as well. So Marko Pejic and Graham Carroll both in this. Look, I'm going to let you pick first. And we both said that if Jasmine didn't pick, that we could pick for her. And so we can just pick some. Well, Jasmine's actually told me she's actually picked Ryan Barneveld to win this one. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Who knows? It's not true. Who do you think is going to come through on top, George? I don't know.
I'm going to go Joshua Rogers. That's going to be my pick. Lewis,
I can go Sebastian Job then. I can go Job.
Oh, there you go. He's going to go with Job. So it's Job and Rogers and Barneveld. That's the selections we have on offer. Qualifying
I really like
about to get underway. Yeah. Well done on throwing her under the bus there, Lewis. As we're now seeing Mercedes now out on track again, obviously represented twice over with that of Graham Carroll and that of Marko Pejic. Pejic managing to top the tree in quarter-final 3. And this is the man himself now setting a 34.9 in that first sector. 34's of what we come to expect, but generally we might find something a little quicker than that 34.9 in itself. Sector 2 and Sector 3 will need to be good for Pejic. Of course, remember, the fastest lap we saw in semi-final 1 is a 1:46.081, Lewis.
Yeah, I'm not sure this is the real lap time for Pejic. That first sector's somewhat average, although I did say that yesterday about someone, and then they slapped it on pole position, so who knows? He's looking great right now. Not so much the lap time, but the picture, absolutely fantastic. He's got one more corner to deal with, though. I don't think this is going to be great.
No, I think it's going to be a little tough here for Marko Pejic, and it certainly is going to be tough for him to hit P1 yet again after he achieved that yesterday. But this time as he crosses the line, that is going to be a 1:46.759 to get us underway, and that is 7/10 slower than Erhan Yuyovski in our previous session.
That is not great. Nikodem Wisniewski will be the next one to come through. First sector and second sector is faster than what we saw from Pejic, but it's still not ideal. But I think the Merc goes pretty well through the final sector as they head through the Parabolica. 46.7 to beat. That should be pretty basic for a driver of the caliber of Nikodem Wisniewski. Of course, Williams having so many drivers in this competition. Moving through, they've got all 4 drivers in the semi-finals. Well, Wisniewski's putting himself in position to move through to the final and join Dara McCormack.
Yeah, a great place to be, and certainly you'll be looking to have that match by Joshua Rogers, of course. A tremendous competitor and a leader as well of sorts here at Porsche Coanda, and has won many a grandiose event, a great championship, has made himself a legend as well in the world of ESL R1, and makes his way up towards the line. We have seen many fights involving this man, sensational qualifying laps as well. Goes to the top with a 1:46.067. The blistering laps unleashed, and already he beats Erhan Yuyovski's 46.081.
Here's Jasmine's pick, Ryan Barneveld. I will say, actually, I joke about it. Obviously, Jasmine did not pick anyone, so we picked Ryan Barneveld for her. But it'll come through the final corner. Actually looks really, really solid yesterday. Really solid indeed. Of course, ESL R1 being done on back-to-back days now rather than either side of the weekend. Barneveld will cross the line a couple of tenths off over the pole with a 46.330. It's decent, but it's not great. And I suspect this driver might be beating it quite soon, George.
Yeah, Sebastian Jobe, 34.7 in the first sector is very good. Sector 2, 35.6. Of course, well-versed sim racing, as we discussed earlier on, is featured in the world of Formula One, as well as that of the Porsche Carrera Cup, and is now donning the BMW for G2 Esports, as he's done so already at Gamers 8. Goes second fastest, 9 thousandths of a second in behind that of Joshua Rogers. So close between them, but still not enough for the top time.
Yeah, two of the heaviest hitters in the world of sim racing, Joshua Rogers and Sebastian Jobe. Two drivers we've seen go toe-to-toe many a time over the last sort of 5-10 years of sim racing, so I'm excited to see that one between the pair of them. It does mean if anyone else is to get pole position, they have to dethrone two of the greatest drivers this esport has ever seen. Let's see what Patrick Holtzman will do. Mouse coming across the line, the lone Mouse driver in this session, a couple of tenths off of the pole. Puts him behind Wisniewski, ahead of Barneveld. Keithley's next.
Yeah, we've already had William Williams' car go across the line, currently sat in third place. That is Nikodem Wisniewski. This time it's Jack Keithley, one of our head-to-head drivers that we looked at earlier on in comparison with that of Thibaut Casabon. Jack Keithley doing very well to get himself through to this semi-final, of course finishing P5 in yesterday's quarter-final 3, comes across the line, goes behind his teammate, just over 2 tenths of a second behind Joshua Rogers. Do you know what? I think they'll be pleased with that here, Lewis.
Yeah, certainly so. I mean, Williams Esports, they could, because they were one of the teams that progressed courtesy of the penalty for Maximilian Benneker. So there'll be 2 Williams drivers going through from semi-final 1. There could be 2 from semi-final 2. They could be the first team to get all 4 drivers into a final. RHG could still match them as well. Toman and Casabon still to come. But we have to focus on Kaiki Oliveira, who finished 3rd yesterday in his knockout race. He'll come across the line. He'll be disappointed with that. Just 7th. We know he's got some great speed. Not shown there.
No, not at all. Yuri Toman, ever consistent. We remember his efforts during the spring series and also his help to aid RHG in their quest for championships. And once again, he's going to be put to the task here in the semi-final 2. Managed to achieve great things, of course, when we went racing, finishing P4 in quarterfinal 3 yesterday. In he comes now, 34.8 in the first sector, 35.5 in sector 2, enough for 3rd fastest, 77 thousandths off the top. Enter Johan Haaf, though, representing Apex Racing Team. Can he lift them to the top?
I mean, he certainly can. He's got the pace. He had pole position yesterday. There is pole cam at the moment in the bottom right. That is Joshua Rogers, that's currently the driver holding on to that position at the top of the standings by a mere 9 thousandths of a second. Johan Haas will come up towards the line in the new Mercedes AMG Apex Racing Team car. It'll be good enough for 4th. The Frenchman's turning things around, but it's not good enough for pole. Just the birthday boy and Graham Carroll to come. Here's Casabon.
Yeah, Thibaut Casabon, who's going to look to try and join his teammate Yuri Toman up at the sharp end. He's already witnessed that of Erhan Yuyovsky and Marcel Chinchik making their way through into the final. Like Williams, RHG could yet get 4 cars into the final. 34.8, though, isn't looking great. Would have preferred a 34.7 in the first sector. 35.6 as well might place him outside the scope. Across the line for Thibaut Casabon, 6th fastest. As long as you're in that top 6, you're through to the final. The question is, can he stay there? Because here comes Graham Carroll.
You saw a bit of a different Graham Carroll yesterday. I've said before, I was talking about his difficulties and struggles in this competition. Has not gone amazingly well, but is starting to potentially turn those things around. Graham Carroll will come up towards the line. He'll cross it, only good enough for 11th. He's had 3 semi-final appearances coming up to this. That is going to be difficult to get into the final.
Yeah, welcome as well to our starting grid, powered by VRS. Here is the lineup for semi-final 2. From the back row, Marco Pejic is sitting in 12th, Graham Carroll in 11th, Mercedes on the back row, Kaiki Oliveira in 10th place with Ryan Barneveld in 9th. Then is Patrick Holtzman in 8th with Jack Keithley in 7th place. 6th place, Thibaut Casabon with then Nikodem Wisniewski in 5th, Johan Haaf in 4th place, Yuri Toman in 3rd, also on the second row of the grid. But up at the front, it's those two again. Sebastian Jobe in 2nd, Joshua Rogers is on pole position. And what a performance it was too, following on from his real vast achievements at Gamers 8. He's back again, certainly a majestic figure in the world of ESL R1. Will no doubt be putting his skills down on the line here at Monza. We look forward to seeing whether he can unleash the pace around the Temple of Speed. Will it be a victory for Porsche Coanda Racing Team?
Potentially so. I mean, you put it perfectly that Rogers was so fantastically fast at Gamers 8 in Riyadh, where he almost won the Drivers' Championship. It was only contact between himself and Jeffrey Rietveld that opened the door for Maximilian Benneker to come through, but then led the Porsche Coanda team to victory on the team's championship. We've been enjoying ESL R1 so far, haven't we, George? We hope you have been as well, but we have always said that you can let us know, exclamation mark, survey in chat, and you can basically tell us what you've liked about the series, what you've hated about the series, what you think about the changes we've made, about the adjustments we've made. Unfortunately, we've not got rid of the commentary team just yet, but you know, potentially we'll have to wait and see. We've still got George in the
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm still here, so that's okay. And also, don't forget your beta keys as well. I've got another one here, so make sure you get involved if you want a chance at playing the brand new Rennsport game before anybody else. Indeed, the beta is now available, but only to limited people. If you can get hold of a key, if you can activate one, you will have access to the Rennsport game and get involved, like many of the drivers here competing in ESL R1, racing around some of the grandest circuits in the world of motorsport, and indeed that of sim racing in itself. Yeah, you don't want to miss it. There you have beta keys in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen as well. Be sure to get involved. Folks at home, we never know. We might see you at ESL R1 in the near future. But looking ahead at this tantalising affair here, Lewis McGlade, I can't wait. Sebastian Job, second. Front row, Joshua Rogers on pole. That's a mouth-watering prospect heading down to the Rettifilio, is it not?
Yeah, it really is. And like I say, these two are not going to pull any punches on each other. They've raced each other a fair few times. They've both won championships on iRacing and the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup, and they're both going to do battle here, George.
Certainly are. The lights now about to get lit up here at the Temple of Speed. Welcome back to Monza, folks. 3 lights, 4 lights, all 5 lights are lit. And it's pedal to the metal. And it is go, 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 go. And they get underway well. Joshua Rogers certainly got the jump of them all here as they make their way down towards turn 1. Sebastian Job forced to wait in behind as well. Thibaut Kazimon further back, looking to try and muscle his way through his teammate, though, Yuri Toman. Still currently sat in third. Oh, look at this from Job. Finally around the outside, heading through the Rettifilio. He leads the race. He now leads through Joshua Rogers, heading through Curva Grande. That was special. It was brilliant. He looked like he'd lost the place up at the front end due to the fact that Joshua Rogers had the better start, but now has a nose in front, down towards the Rogier.
Yeah, but Rogers has come straight back through, coming into the Rogier. It's fantastic between the pair of them. I said they weren't going to pull any punches. That's exactly what we're seeing here. Also, Johan Harth is joining the mix as he's going to try and make his way around the outside of Yuri Toman. A big send down the inside of Sebastian Jobs, hanging onto the race lead. But what a move there from the Porsche Coanda driver of Joshua Rogers. These two are laying it all on the line in semi-final 2. Rogers back towards the front.
Yeah, royalty in racing. These two up at the sharp end certainly are that. They have won pretty much anything there is to offer. They both have succeeded at the highest level here in the world of professional esports. And certainly here now, Joshua Rogers retaking the lead here at this stage. But I get the feeling we're going to be seeing a few switcheroos before the checkered flag is unveiled here at Monza as we now make our way down through towards Curva Alboreto. Job there, you can see him at the bottom left of your screen, just vigorously looking up and around, and obviously just trying to make sure his awareness is on point. You can just see some movements as well. Oh, dearie me, a Mercedes going off at the back there.
Yeah, I think that was Graham Carroll getting squeezed off and all that. It's Marco Page just at the rear of the field. Ryan Barneveld being dropped back towards towards that last position. He's not going to be in it yet. He's in 11th place. Up the front, by the way, they continue to battle out. In the mid-pack, they continue to battle it out. It's been a chaotic first lap here in semi-final 2 to match the first one. Let's see if Job will do anything about Rogers now. That was on the brakes early. He's not going for anything because there's chaos behind.
There certainly is chaos behind as well. Oh, the mouse having to cut across the circuit. Never ideal. Of course, Patrick Holzman representing here for the mouse team. Still holds on to his position. Kaiki Oliveira as well, right in the heart of the issue. Jack Keithley, we're currently seeing in the bottom left now, rounding Curva Grande, having to recover after that little descent over the curbing. And obviously, it's a very uncomfortable ride heading through that part of the chicane, as well as we're now seeing the cars now nose to tail. The gaps very minute here in this very early stage. We're only mere laps in to our current affair here around the Temple of Speed. Jack Keithley now heading through the Lesmo 1. He's got Nikodem Wisniewski in behind, that of the Furia car in behind as well. Joshua Rogers still with the advanced lead at this stage with Sebastian Jobe, 0.4 of a second in behind too, with Yuri Toman, who's not far behind either. They'll now power their way down the Seraglio straight. It's Rogers, Jobe, Toman half, Holzman, Keithley. They are in the top 6. They're going through unless something changes.
Yeah, Wisniewski's had a bit of a disappointing opening to this race. 8th position he's currently running, not inside that top 6, not moving through into the final, not making it all 4 Williams Esports drivers moving through. Neither is Thibaut Casabon making it all 4 R8G drivers. They've both got to do a lot of work if that is to change. Again, we've not seen it before in ESL R1. Today could be the day. We've got a couple of really good chances at that happening. Big slide coming out through the final corner from Thibaut Casabon. Nikodem Wisniewski picking up the slipstream with Kaiki Oliveira. Jack Keithley doing a really good job to stay inside that top 6. But I get the feeling, George, that we're certainly not done with drama when it comes to proceedings in semi-final 2. We've got plenty more to deal with as Graham Carroll's attacking the birthday boy.
He certainly is. Casabon under pressure now as the Mercedes team are looking to try and advance their charge. They're still cemented towards the rear. Graham Carroll currently standing 10th place. Marco Pejic unable to get off the back row of things. Casabon currently the cork in the bottle at this stage. There's a little gap ahead of him to that of Nikodem Wisniewski. He currently sits just over 7.5 of a second. He needs to try and marshal that deficit in. Patrick Holzman now also leading a small train of cars heading through the Rogier chicane. He's got Jack Keithley hugging his rear wing right now. That gap has now sprung out to a second as he makes his way through the Rogier, and there he is in the bottom left of your screen. Again, very pensive, obviously still a ways to go in this race, but they need to start trying to take advantage as early as possible.
Yeah, 1 second though, the grouping is now clearing off ahead. This is another look at that first corner bit where he skipped over at T1. I mean, you could say maybe he had nowhere to go. Maybe you could say he should have held his line. I don't know, but race control will certainly take a look at it. Patrick Holzman not off clean in this race. Jack Keithley over the rear end of him. So there's still plenty of fighting there. And again, as much as we've not looked at it for a little while, I can tell you that grouping towards the top, Rogers, Jobe, Toman and Half, that is not done. They will continue. They will have a fight. There are points up for grabs for those spots. It just depends on when they start the attack. You can see a bit of a look there from Johan Half on Yuri Toman, not going for it yet. Between Rogers, Jobe and Half, those 3 have raced each other quite a few times elsewhere in the world of sim racing. Toman is the outlier there. The other 3 come mostly from the world of iRacing. Toman is mostly from the world of R Factor 2. Now, whilst they have raced each other plenty of times in ESL R1, it's still this big collision of worlds in the world of sim racing that I have absolutely loved seeing names that we wouldn't normally see racing with each other.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is where worlds collide, essentially, here at Red Sport now, as now we see Patrick Holzman under pressure as Jack Keithley looks to hold back the tide here in 5th place, managing to get past out of Holzman, with him behind Kaiki Oliveira, also fancying a piece of the pie. Nikodem Wisniewski making up the rest of them too, with Thibaut Casabon, who's managed to breach into that 1 second gap, trying to propel his way forwards, but has still got Graham Carroll for company, as well as Barneveld and Pejic. Certainly Jasmine isn't going to be very happy with the fact that her pick currently sits in P11. Jack Keithley, who we're currently seeing on screen, making her way through towards Lesmo 1. Johan Half next on his list, but he's got an almighty 1.5 seconds to find, and that's going to prove very tricky as well, because remember, he needs the aero, and someone who will have the aero is Patrick Holzman, so he's going to be fast down the long straights.
Yeah, certainly so. Well, there you go. You can see a confirmation of the stat there about Joshua Rogers. The only 2 times, by the way, he didn't make it through to a final. One was at Spa and one was at Nürburgring. That was, of course, before Monza was on the platform. We introduced that at Munich, where he, I think he did fairly well. It wasn't the Porsche wasn't particularly strong around Monza when we were racing at Munich. He still managed to pick up a couple of wins elsewhere on his progression through, ending up, I think, if I remember correctly, I think it was 3rd in the championship that he ended up late on in our battling in Munich. He's certainly one of the ones that entered finalist mode. One of 5 drivers, by the way, that entered finalist mode there in Munich. Rogers currently leading, currently fairly comfortable, but he will be attacked. This is where things are not comfortable. Keithley's well into his wrestling. I think he's going to have to wrestle to hang on to this position right now. He's in 5th spot, but here comes that big slipstream train. It's Patrick Holzman, the first of them to close in. Kaiki Oliveira and Nikodem Wisniewski also. Williams still in position to potentially have all 4 drivers moving through here if things play out the way they want it.
Yeah, absolutely. Holzman now trying to hug the outside, obviously trying to protect the place against Kaiki Oliveira, who has been impressive. Remember, this is a battle for P6, so everything on the line to try and make your way in towards the final round. Well, certainly the final race of round 1 as they make their way in towards the Rogier. Still with a favourable line, the Tiger line for Holzman. Oliveira having to wait in behind yet again, but the pace is clearly with the Brazilian. He'll have another chance here heading out of the Lesmo. The Serralio straight will present an opportunity. This is not over yet, Lewis.
Certainly not. It certainly isn't. And again, the grouping gets bigger because Casabon rejoins the fight. Carroll, Barneveld and Pajic all in tow, all fighting for the final couple of positions to move through into the first final of the season. If there's one that you want to win, it's either the first or the last, because you want to be heading into that final with the best momentum when we go to Sweden later on in the year. Or you want to start out the season with the best momentum. At the moment, getting through to the final is the most important bit for them. That's what they're focused on. They're up for the final victory, and of course for that brand new prize money that's up for grabs in that final. A bit of a look down the inside there from Wisniewski, still not able to make his way through on Kaiki Oliveira. Patrick Holzman was able to hang on to 6th for now, but this is the bit we're talking about, George. The run down towards the Rettifilio. There is surely a move from someone coming here.
Yeah, certainly is. Now looking at the rear wing view of Kaiki Oliveira's car, and you can see there Nikodem Wisniewski, who had a little cheeky look down the inside heading in towards Kerber Alboreto, but also the Furia car belonging to Oliveira now looking to try and pull a punch. Oh no! Coming into contact with Patrick Holzman, overzealous on the brakes. Jack Keithley caught up in all the carnage as well. In comes Nikodem Wisniewski, while Oliveira now has the place. I think the stewards are going to be taking a look at that one as they now enter the Curva Grande now. Wisniewski on the outside, enter again. Patrick Holzman, he's not going to take it lying down, switches through the gap as they head down now in towards the next lip to get through the Rogier. Again peppering back here, Holzman. Fury here from the mouse car that looks to pounce here at this point. In between now, enter Nikodem Wisniewski. Timo Kazimov, the birthday boy, looking for a birthday gift of a P6 here to make his way to the final. We caught a view there from Adrian in the steward's office. He's going to be a very busy boy after this one, Lewis.
Oh yeah, there's going to be a sweaty brow there after all that. Keithley, in my opinion, did nothing wrong. He got sent over T1 and just carried on. There was nothing he could do in all of that, but this looks like it's going to go from bad to worse for a few of these drivers. Kaiki Oliveira has the whole shot coming in, but it's Wisniewski, Holzman, all coming through. Carroll's made his way past Thibaut Gazabon as they run through the exit of Ascari. This looks like it is destined for the largest crash we've seen in ESL R1, but we'll keep our fingers crossed. These are the very best drivers in the world of sim racing, and they should be able to keep their nose clean in all of this. That was a little sketchy and probably a little bit too far, George.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's going to be a few drivers that are going to be in a little bit of trouble. I would say probably Kaiki Oliveira might sustain, I think, the brunt of it. I think he just got it a little bit wrong heading in towards the chicane. We know the Rettifilio can be very dangerous. Graham Carroll is now a big danger man for Patrick Holzman, whose race now has been certainly interrupted at this point. Graham Carroll wrestling now with the mouse Audi as it makes its way towards turn 1, turn 2. Inside line here for Graham Carroll as he now makes his way out to that particular section. Now overtakes that of Holzman and takes that P8 as well. But now he's got to try and chase after Nikodem Wisniewski. And look at Holzman literally pushing Carroll around the Curva Grande. But look at Kazibon. He's going to make it 3 wide. Sensational movements here from all these drivers. They're all fighting out for the top 6. It's now or never because we've only got 2.5 laps still to go.
Yeah, I think Carroll might be a little bit frustrated there with what Patrick Holzman was doing. It was a squeeze, quite an aggressive squeeze, by the way, from the German coming down into the first section, into that Rettifilio complex. Just a bit of a squeeze. Carroll was still able to make his way around the outside, but I'm pretty sure he'll be a little bit flustered after all this, picking up the slipstream of Nikodem Wisniewski. The battle for 6th is not done for them, but it all depends on what Patrick Holzman does when it comes to when and how he's going to attack here. Well, when is now, and how is aggressively straight down the inside of the Ascari. He's not able to do so, but Graham Carroll's overdriven it. This could become only a couple of horse race now for that final position inside the top 6, because I think this grouping might be ejected from any chance of moving through to the final.
Yeah, and Williams with every chance here to get 2 drivers through. Don't forget, Keke Oliveira might yet get penalised, but take a look at this. In comes Holzman down the inside around Kerber Alboreto. Contact made there with Graham Carroll. Timo Kazimon caught up in all of that as well. Marco Page is going to look to try and hoover up every opportunity, along with Ryan Barneveld as well. Page now up to 9th. Carroll still in 8th. You can see now as they make their way down the straight, Kazimon is going to look to try and gamble here. This time, as he makes his way through, sorry, we're looking at Yuri Toman heading through the first chicane as he looks to try and propel himself forward. There's still a battle on for Ps1 and Ps2. Look at this as well. They come together through the first chicane. Still wheel to wheel, this time with Kazimon and Page. Throw in Ryan Barneveld. There's hope for him yet, Jasmine. Hope for him yet.
Yeah, the top 4 remain. My name's not Jasmine, by the way, but it's fine. We'll carry on. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it, George. I feel much prettier now, but that's fine. I appreciate that.
Well, I was alluding to Barneveld.
Continue. Oh, right. Oh, I see. I thought you were just talking about me. Goodness. Well, there is the slip and slide from Page and Barneveld. Page dropping back now to 11th. Barneveld up to 10th. Wisniewski has got past Keke Oliveira, meaning all 4 Williams drivers at the moment will be progressing. This order, though, I think with the exception of potentially the top 4, can be thrown straight into the bin once race control have taken a very solid look, Jasmine.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lewis Wigley, as they make their way down the Seraglio straight. Barneveld, though, under pressure, hasn't looked to yet capitalise, certainly after all the chaos that happened around the Kerber Alboreto, heading through now the Ascari chicane, and Marco Page being forced to be left behind the BMW as it makes its way now down towards Kerber Alboreto yet again, but up at the sharp end, Rogers still propelling himself forward, holding on to the lead right now. There he is in the bottom left of your screen, with Sebastian Job just in behind. Toman as well in 3rd. There's still very much a tasty encounter in, well, certainly a possible encounter here. Look at Job with the slipstream, the straight line speed on offer here for the BMW. Don't count out Yuri Toman in this fight either. They're going wheel to wheel, heading through turn 1, out to the Rettifilio. It's Job in front, and look at this, Toman with the tow himself. They head towards Curva Grande. It's a 3-car scrap. Could yet be a 4-car scrap with Johan Harth.
Yeah, it could well be. Obviously, he's watching this all happen right now. Sebastian Job's taken over the race lead. Yuri Toman's trying to steal 2nd position off of the Porsche Commander. Joshua Rogers is going to send it into the Roger. That is a fantastic send once again from the Australian as he's trying to clamber once again onto the rear of the G2 Esports driver. Here comes Johan Harth, then straight down the inside. A bit of a squeeze there from the RAG man. Yuri Toman trying to fend off Johan Harth, who's looking absolutely fantastic at the moment. Harth is looking to progress through to the final of what I believe will be only the 2nd time in his ESL R1 career. He did it back in Katowice. Now he's trying to do it once more, but our eyes have to be on the race lead, George. This could be it for Sebastian Job and Joshua Rogers.
They've got one straight after the Ascari chicane, and the exit out of this particular run is going to be oh so vital. And then they've got Kerber Alboreto, which will take them down to the home stretch before they cross the start-finish line for the final time. And it's certainly Sebastian Job who holds on to the lead. But the question is, can he bring it home? Here comes Joshua Rogers. He's going to go for the move now, heading through towards Kerber Alboreto here on the final lap. Is it going to be home and host for Sebastian Job? It certainly will be. G2 Esports will celebrate. Job done for Sebastian Job. He wins here at the Temple of Speed. He wins at Monza.
You could say,
well,
it is absolutely Job done.
It is Job done here at Monza. Sebastian Job has taken victory here for G2 Esports. A stellar showing once again, admiring the credentials of this young man. He's just added a Monza win to that accolade too, and a win here in a semi-final too here at ESL R1.
He's great. He's done absolutely fantastically. That battle there between Rogers and Job, that is literally me and you fighting in the comedy booth all the time. So that's fine. A little bit of one of those going on. Great racing between the pair of them. Got to say, hats off to Rogers, to Job, and also to Johan Harth and Yuri Toman. They put on a good fight there for the final part, but they were just patient all the way through that final section. What can you say about Jack Keithley and Nikodem Wisniewski as well? I think they were ended up towards the back end of the top 6. Here's highlights from the first from the second of our semi-finals. Rogers was in a little bit too deep into the first corner. That was what opened the opportunity for Sebastian Job to come through. The two of them put on quite a display over the first lap, with Rogers just about fending off Sebastian Job around the outside of Lesmo 1, around the outside of Lesmo 2, and it was Porsche Commander back out and in the front as he would work his way past. It was a brilliant fight between them, and it would build up as well to quite the crescendo towards the end of the race. There were plenty of that crescendo type happening down in the back of the pack, being sent over Patrick Holtzman over the exit curb at the Rettifilio. Also Williams being involved in there, Jack Keithley involved in the fight, race control officers, a whole multitude of things in all of this combat. Final portion of the race, final lap of the race, Sebastian Job around the outside of the Rettifilio to try and get his way past Joshua Rogers, would complete the move on that occasion before Yuri Toman was joining in on the fight. Same with Johan Half closing his way up in the Apex Racing team car. Side by side round Curva Grande would lead them up towards the Rogier. Final corner has to be a send, and there certainly was one from Rogers. Sebastian Job would come out on top. We'll throw though to an interview with Jasmine, as I believe she's got Kaiki Oliveira.
Kaiki, are you there and can you hear me?
Yeah. Loud and clear.
How's it going, man? I hope you've been doing good. I know we didn't really get much of a catch-up to have a chit-chat at Gamers 8, but when we spoke back at Munich, I know you had mentioned going on holiday, visiting some family, and having a bit of a break. So how have things been since then?
Yeah, it's been like amazing. It was super important to go back at home and seeing my family. But of course, we never stopped driving. I took a little bit lighter in terms of preparation, but once like we were like deciding the place to go in Europe to compete again in season 2, we started just again practicing a lot, and yeah, I'm super happy.
I always love chit-chatting with you because there's always a smile on your face, and obviously it wasn't necessarily the result you might have wanted in the race that we've just seen. It was incredibly close, but being the only driver from Furia heading into that one, do you feel like that impacted you much?
Of course, I wanted my teammates to qualify, and like since it's the new lineup, I think we are like back to the drawing board again. Especially with results yesterday, but to be honest, I would love our help, but I have to like figure it out and get it together individually. My quali, unfortunately, it was very close. I was doing faster lap times, but I didn't put the lap on. My race pace was good, and that's what I'm like. It's not ideal, but that's racing. It was hard racing close, and yeah, hope. Going back to drawing board and improving for the next round, yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you've mentioned the new lineup as well, because I have to ask you how things have been going. Preparation behind the scenes, what does that kind of look like for you guys?
Yeah, we just fly from Brazil to Denmark, and we are at the Fire headquarters together with both Lasses, Schorensen and Bach. And yeah, preparation has been quite hectic because we arrived here quite shortly before the race. That's been 5 days only. So adjusting to the rig, to the equipment, like the position of everything, it's a different rig, but at the same time, since I'm used to everything, I got up to speed quite fast. And like me and Gustavo are here, we are sharing a lot of stuff, like practically live it together, and having like facing the journey together has been a very good start and quite fun. So yeah, this group is amazing. I couldn't ask for better teammates for now. So yeah.
Well, considering how close of a fight it was between P6 and P7 for yourself in that previous race that we've just seen, where do you think your primary areas of improvement need to be heading into Spa for next week?
To be honest, it's just qualifying better. I think I had a good performance in Riyadh at Spa. It's one of my main tracks. So yeah, just nailing the quality, nail the whole execution, because starting from behind makes things way more difficult. As you can see, lots of aggressive moves and stuff that sometimes happen. So yeah, just practicing and getting faster.
And I've been quizzing every single person that's been joining me on the broadcast. The new point system. Talk to me. How are we feeling about that? Are you a fan of it? What was the team's reaction when you found out about it?
I like it because it rewards you unlike before, because if you either P1 or P6 in quarterfinals, you don't really gain anything, just the glory of winning or being in a podium. But like being P6 is it was just as good. And now having the points awarded, I think it's more fair and makes things more close. So I think in the long run will be fun to watch how the championship between teams and drivers will pan out. And I hope, since I think rewards me because I'm quite consistent, I think, since the last penultimate round. So yeah, this is the first semis that I didn't go to the final. The last 3 finals I went straight from semis. So yeah, I think it's good points for the team, able to glitch it up, and for sure for Spa, the guys will come faster and grab some more points for us, because it's very important. We want to go to at least the top 6, so we are aiming high.
Well, Kaiki, you have an absolute heart of gold, so I'm not sure whether or not you're going to be able to do this next challenge that I have for you. I want some fighting words for all of the teams and all of the other drivers watching the broadcast right now. Next week, what do you have to say to them?
Watch out, because we are coming for you. We are coming for everything. We are coming to win. We are coming to fight. And they better hope that we can fight a lot. So, yeah.
Amazing. Well, I certainly cannot wait to see that fight take place. Thank you so much for joining me.
Cheers.
George Morgan, Kaiki Oliveira, honestly, heart of gold, always has a smile on his face as well. He gave it a good shot, didn't he, with the fighting talk?
He did, and I like this young man's attitude. He's such a amazing figure, and has really garnered, I think, the respect, of the grid as well. But I want to take a look back as well at some of the dramatic moments that we saw in that previous race. And unfortunately for Patrick Holzman, he was at the heart of the issue pretty much every single time. Obviously, the results did not pan out for him. Heading through towards Rogier, we saw him, of course, meeting Graham Carroll heading through the portion of the race. Of course, remember, Mercedes were double-armed heading into this round. And with the likes of having Page and Carroll starting from the back of the grid, it certainly was a tough ride for him. But unfortunately for Patrick Holzman, being clipped by Carroll heading through Kerber Alboreto, he also collected Thibaut Casubon under the process as well. It really was a tough day at the office for him, and he's got to try and find a way to bounce back.
All I'm saying is, by the way, if I had remembered to give you my prediction, I would have been correct. Just throwing that one out there. Who was your prediction heading into that one?
I believe my prediction was, I think Joshua Rogers, was mine. I think Sebastian Job was thrown around. I think actually we might have picked between the pair of them. But yeah, it was okay. A pretty heart-fought contest at the top end. But naturally, given the fact that we have just witnessed, I think, quite a dramatic race, it definitely does go to show the drivers are fighting for every single point. The new point system, I think, winning the audience over, more action happening out on track.
Well, on that note, as we take a look at the overall result for semi-final number 2, Jack Keithley and Nick Inem both being able to make it through to the grand finals, joining Dara as well. This is going to be huge for the Mercedes-AMG Team Williams esports squad as well. Do we think they have what it takes to close things out and walk away with a grand final victory?
Well, being the first team to actually have 4 cars in the final is a really, really great achievement. Jack Keithley and Nikodem Wisniewski are going to be joining, obviously, Dara McCormack, who took the semi-final 1 victory, as well as Jakub Brzezinski, who came P6 in that exact same race. They've got a huge chance to score some major points here and thrust themselves to the top end of the standings too. So, plaudits go to them. Difficult day at the office for the other Mercedes team, obviously the official Mercedes team that lose Graham Carroll and Marco Page, also losing James Baldwin, as well as certainly some vastly other competitive names as well, adding to their list. So it's going to be a bit weird not seeing them necessarily representing in the final. Many other shocks too. I think, honestly, we are seeing some of the same names up at the top, though. Sebastian Job and Joshua Rogers, tremendous artists on this game. Looking forward to seeing how they get on in the final round.
Well, you know what? Whilst the official Mercedes boys from that race may not be joining us in the grand finals, Mercedes are still lingering around in the form of Apex Racing Team and also Williams as well. So do not fear. If you're rooting for Mercedes, you can kind of do so in spirit as well. Another reminder for everybody that's been joining us, we are giving away beta keys for Rennsport left, right and centre. My fantastic commentators will be doing so. I will be doing so, and obviously in the chat and across all of the overlays as well. Remember to use the !social as well as !VRS as well to find out about how on earth this event is actually being put together. VRS, we could not do this without you. And you know what? I think we should queue for a little bit more hype as we head into our grand finals.
Our first champion!
Dreams were realized, yet some were transformed into nightmares. In a world where the past intertwines with the present, a new story begins. The first chapter of the ESL R1 history book has been etched onto the pages of time. Another eagerly awaits its turn. The ESL R1 2023 full season is about to start. Find your grip and get ready for the racing to be released.
And it is pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go!
We are back once again, but before we head on over into our grand finals, you might have heard us chit-chatting a little bit earlier on about a brand new addition being made to the Apex Racing Team. So without further ado, drum roll please, George. This is where you do the drum roll. There we go. That was the worst drum roll I've ever heard. Mark, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. It's a pleasure to have you here. I'm going to dive straight in though. I want to know, with this new collaboration edition with Mercedes, what exactly does that change up for yourself and the team?
I think it's recognition for the work we've been putting in for the past, couple of years, and it's great to be partnered with a team like Mercedes, or a manufacturer like Mercedes. I think everyone, when we got the deal signed, was really excited for what that would bring.
Yeah, I mean, Mark, you guys have had so much success, I think, over the years, a mixture of different sims you're involved in as well. You've moved into Rennsport. Partnering with the Mercedes outfit is such, a huge statement, I think, for a team such as Apex Racing Team. In terms of the future, what does that do for the actual foundations of Apex in itself? I mean, what does that give you in terms for growth going forward?
I think it just gives us a platform that we can, grow from when it comes to just moving forwards. It's a difficult one to sort of explain right now, but I think there's some exciting things coming that we'll be able to sort of to bring.
And for yourself and the rest of the team as well, obviously brand new additions being made left, right and centre here at ESL R1. What's the reaction to the restructuring and shuffling of the point system that we've got going on?
Yeah, I think it's good for the series. It's going to provide more action throughout the field in every race. It's going to be more important to get those results high up, whether you're in the quarterfinal, semi-final, or the final. So, yeah, I think it's only going to make it more exciting for the fans watching on the streams and also for the drivers.
Yeah, I mean, in yourself as well, Mark, obviously you've got Johan Harth now moving onwards and upwards. He certainly seems to be a figure to watch coming towards the tail end of tonight's round, obviously with a final just dead ahead of us now. It's a long road to Sweden. How do you sort of measure yourself against the others in terms of the run-up to the major in the full season?
Yeah, obviously delighted that Johan could get into the final, and it was a shame that Kevin couldn't sort of do the same thing in the semi-final one. But looking ahead to Sweden, we've just got to try and keep delivering on these performances, make sure that we're maximising every round and getting those points on the board. I think, we got Kevin to the major for season 1. I think, we should be able to get at least 1 or 2 drivers there. Hopefully more, but we'll see.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for joining us here on the broadcast. It's been a pleasure having you here. You know what, George? I think I'm ready to start diving into our grand finals a little bit more. I want to go through some of the drivers that you really want to be focusing in on a little bit more. Who do you think is going to have all eyes on them?
Yeah, well, there's certainly lots to look at, I think, heading in towards the next race. I mean, obviously, we just witnessed, I think, 2 semi-finals that I think were quite dramatic. But I think looking ahead, when you've got names like Sebastian Job, Joshua Rogers, Dara McCormack coming back as well, I can't get over the achievement, though, of Williams. 4 cars heading in towards the final. Never been done before in the history of ESL R1, going back all the way to Katowice. So it's a testament to their growth and raw ability that they have achieved that.
I know yourself and Lewis, you've been talking about the experiences that some of these drivers have outside of Rennsport, outside of the realms of ESL R1. What about Sebastian Job? What can you tell me about his background experience and previous achievements?
Well, Sebastian Job, as I said before, a Porsche Carrera champion, and not only that, has since applied his trade in F1 esports, as well as now making his way through into ESL R1. But also, Red Bull have harnessed his skills in the simulator. They know how good he is, and they've drafted him in to actually test for the real Formula One cars. Now, this is where we see the synergy coming into play between sim races and real life races. We see quite a few top-end drivers achieve that. We're going to take a little look, though, at the head-to-heads, because we've got 2 very feisty competitors, Dara McCormack and Dane Warren. Total points accrued already. Dara McCormack outweighing that of Dane Warren, currently 45 to 26, 45 being the average against that of 26 to Dane Warren. Average grid position being 2, which is sensational for Dara, as well as 6 for Dane, who I'm sure can be quick on his day, however. 21 top 6s going to Dara McCormack, certainly outweighs the 8 belonging to Dane Warren too. And just look at the number of podiums, over double, 41.94% strike rate, with 13 going his way, 5 going to Dane Warren as well. So definitely the cards stacked in the Irishman's favour. Williams with a great chance to do something seriously good here this time around. Not only could they get Dara McCormack into a position to potentially win the very first round of the full season, but they could have a massive 4 drivers scoring big points heading in towards round 2.
Well, speaking more on that, George, you know how much I love putting you on the spot and maybe potentially throwing you under the bus a little bit. Are you ready for this? Okay, roll up the sleeves.
I'm ready. I'm hyped. I'm pumped. I'm ready.
Liking the outfit today, by the way. Have you had any feedback regarding the outfit?
My wife thought it looked stunning. So, she's my biggest critic, so we'll go with that.
Oh, I love that. I love that for you. Big fan of it. But yeah, talking more about the Williams boys, who would you say the quote-unquote underdog of the entire team might be? Because obviously they have all 4 of their drivers through now. I love a bit of an underdog story, right? Obviously, all of these drivers are absolutely phenomenal, fantastic, each in their own right as well. But I want to root for the least expected driver to take this one home.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jack Keithley, of course, he actually arrived into the championship later than anybody, and was actually someone we only met towards the final stages of the spring series. We obviously saw Dara McCormack, Nikodem Wisniewski, Kuba Brzezinski at Katowice at this whole occasion. And they've sort of managed to grow as time has gone on, but Jack Keithley has now also risen to the occasion. So it definitely goes to show that Williams are doing something right in terms of the development of their talent. And now coming into this round now, to have, as I said, the 4 cars into the final, certainly gives them a great chance to really get their championship off to the perfect start. Naturally, these key moments at the very start of a championship can be the difference maker between succeeding at the very end and also laying claim to a major. And yes, we've got to embrace the basic keys, have we not? I mean, I've got 2 here. I'm gonna get 2 out here. These are my last 2, so I'm gonna get these out now. Hang on, I'm going to make sure the light's good. There you go, guys. 2 beta keys. Get stuck in. Go over to Epic and type these bad boys in.
Yeah, everybody's going to be super fast trying to redeem these, by the way. And I did say in the chat, if you manage to successfully redeem one of them, make sure you let us know that you got them. There were some people saying they were way too slow, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. You know, you got to test your reactions. Ooh, I like that. I only have one more key to give away, and it's sat right here. But you know what? I'll save that for maybe just after the finals as well. See, I was sat here, George, and I was trying to think of ways I could make it more and more difficult for people, right? So I was thinking, what if we did it like an eye test, right? Start off big fun and then start working our way downwards. What do you think? Is that a good idea?
Maybe we'll try that later on.
We'll try that later on. I don't know how well that's going to go down, but taking a look at our driver lineups heading into Monza once again. We spoke about the Williams boys. R8G though, I reckon they're going to have some fight in them heading into this one, especially when we start to consider the Marcel Erhan kind of synergy that they had going on.
Yeah, definitely, and it's quite unbelievable actually. I mean, R8G were also on the cusp of having all 4 drivers in the final round, which would have been absolutely tremendous to see. It would have been a case of a Williams against R8G lineup. But Sebastian Job currently leading the way in terms of the points in this final classification. Dara McCormack in second place. Watch out for Chinchik and Yuyovsky though. Yuyovsky certainly seems to be dialed in. Was actually the better of the R8G drivers earlier on in this round. So give him every little bit of credit. He was sensational in semi-final 1. Chinchik, I'm sure, will be back to fight. Joshua Rogers, I think he'll have the bit between his teeth. He'll be looking to seek revenge on Sebastian Job. But credit as well going to Johan Hart and Kevin Siggy, the sole drivers in their outfits as well. Redline placing all their stock in Mustachio, with Johan Hart flying the flag for ART. It's going to be a magical final.
All right, I'm going to beat you to it once again. My prediction heading into this one is going to be Marcel. I know that first time round he didn't, finish first, but I think he's had his warm-up opportunity now, as it were. I think he might be able to close this one out. Go on, hit me with your prediction.
Well, I'm a believer, and I think that Williams could do big things here. I'm going to place my cards on Dara McCormack. I think he's the one to watch. I don't think there's ever been someone as striking as he is, certainly when it comes to making the big moves. He certainly does wear his heart on his sleeve in many ways, but I think that brings out the best in him. So I think Dara is going to perform here at Monza. He was sensational in semi-final 1. I think he can do it again.
I want to know what Lewis thinks. I want to know whether or not Lewis is going to agree or disagree. So without further ado, Lewis, what is your prediction?
I mean, I don't know, the two you picked both genuinely excellent. There's 5 drivers that can win this. So you've obviously eliminated 2 of those. I think the other ones are Erhan, a Sebastian, and a Josh. So I've got to pick one of those 3. I am going to go for Sebi. I think he's going to get the job done. Yes, we are not going to get bored of making that. I think Job's going to do it.
Okay, all right. Do you agree? Disagree with that, George? Are you thinking it's a safe prediction coming out from Lewis? Because Lewis, I'm not going to lie. As soon as you said you've both, I was ready for some BM, some flame to come on in from you. But you know what? That's a compliment, a genuine compliment coming out from Lewis, George.
Yeah, no, I honestly think Sebastian Job is a great pick. I mean, you could look right through this grid and every single pick would be a sensational pick. It is honestly a really mouth-watering final race we've got. I'm looking forward to seeing how Johan Hart gets on. I'm looking forward to seeing how Kevin Siggy gets on, because there is going to be a lot of pressure on those 2 drivers at this point. They have got to try and negotiate their way against a raft of Williams cars, a raft of R8Gs, and also a Sebastian Job to throw in between as well. It's going to be such a tough race for them, but they have to try and be clinical, because that will be the difference maker.
Well, I want everybody in the chat to start spamming away. Let us know your predictions. Let us know who you're rooting for all the way as we head into our grand finals for round number 1 of ESL R1.
This should be a lot of fun, George. I've got a different prediction game for us to play, though, because we've all predicted our drivers now. Everyone's predicted them in chat also. I want a number. How many drivers are going to qualify within a 10th of a second? Because I think this is one of the strongest races we've ever had in the ESL R1. I'm going to go with 8.
I'm actually going to go with 11.
11? Woohoo!
Yeah. I'm going to go with
Wow.
11. I mean, I'm looking at this grid, and there's definitely cases for all of these drivers that they could surely stamp their authority around here. I mean, we saw in semi-final 1, Lewis, that the top 6, I believe, were in the same 61 thousandths of a second, which was absolutely sensational. I think we could see a repeat here in the final. I don't think 11 drivers is a lot to ask here.
To be honest, I don't doubt. The only thing that I think will separate them are the odd slowdown penalty coming through, because they'll be pushing so hard to get on top here. Whilst track position's not king, it does reign supreme in some degree. You can see the race lap record has been updated to Maximilian Benneker, who is no longer in this competition. He's been ejected from it after a post-race penalty that I can tell you, after looking on social media, he's not particularly pleased about. So shock. But obviously he was in that ruthless fight between himself and Erhan Yovsky, seeing the Mouse driver no longer partaking in ESL R1 for round 1. I mean, I don't know. Okay, we've done race winner prediction. Who's going to get pole position here? Because this is the thing: you don't pole and win. They're not. You don't have to have pole to win here. You can basically win from anywhere.
No, it's a slipstream fest, but we're going to look forward to seeing who can take the advantage. Pole obviously gives you an advantage, but I get the feeling there's a little bit of hype to bring to the table. So, folks, why don't we take a little bit of a look at a little feature to get you pumped and ready for this final race.
Our first champion!
Dreams were realized, yet some were transformed into nightmares. In a world where the past intertwines with the present, a new story begins. The first chapter of the ESL R1 history book has been etched onto the pages of time. Another eagerly awaits its turn. The ESL R1 2023 full season is about to start. Find your grip and get ready for the racing to be released.
And it is pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go!
It's grand final time then, coming up for the first round of the full season. It's been incredible thus far. We hope you have enjoyed it. We hope that you've been picking up some of those fantastic beta keys as well that we've been dropping throughout the broadcast. I've already given mine all away. George, I think you've now topped all of yours out. Jasmine's got one more to give out, which will be done hopefully after the final, once we have crowned our first winner. And of course, George, for the first time in ESL R1, this round there is prize money for the winner of this individual round, €1,000 up to the driver that takes top honours. Marcel Cinchik was so shocked in his interview, he didn't even know that was a thing.
No, and you have to wonder whether that's unleashed the real raw, I think, underbelly of Marcel Cinchik. Just look at this. First place getting an almighty 1,000. And then, of course, second going with a 400. 150 going to third place as well. But that €1,000, should I say, proving it could yet make a difference heading into this latter stage in round 1. 40 grand as well going to the winner of the Drivers' Championship. The prize pool at an almighty €100,000. Plenty on offer for all these drivers to fight for the full season. Has not disappointed. 40,000 going to the winning team as well. 20,000 for second, 15 grand for third as well. Fourth, 12.5, 7.5 for fifth, and 5 grand for sixth. Just mouth-watering, folks. Lots on the table, lots on the cards as we make our way through the initial stages of this championship. The full season kicking off here at ESL R1. We're here for it. I hope you guys are too.
Yeah, certainly so. They're heading into practice now before we get into that qualifying session. We've already made our predictions. I think Jasmine's was Marcel Cinchik. Mine was Sebastian Jobs. Yours was Dara McCormack. So, we've got some pretty strong predictions here. I've got to say, when it comes to Marcel Cinchik, we've called him the master of Monza. For him to have a final here, this is actually the first final that we've had at Monza, because of course throughout the spring season, we didn't have Monza. We were just running the 3 circuits. So it's something different to be looking forward to see how it's going to unfold. Here's Sebastian Joe, then a couple of stats about him.
Yeah, here's some knowledge that perhaps you might not have been aware of. Sebastian Job working hard not only to strengthen his own racing, but also to help Max Verstappen and Checo better prepare for their Formula One races. And this is what I was alluding to. So his work in the simulator to sort of help Red Bull maintain their levels up at the top end and also aid them to perhaps even develop further to make their car faster. Sebastian Job putting his expertise into play over there. And he certainly has put them into play for G2 Esports here in ESL R1 as well, Lewis.
And one other stat that we can confirm about him, we don't have the rating, but he definitely needs factor 50 because he is the pastiest guy I have ever seen. At least we found that out when we were in Riyadh. Obviously, a couple of other big drivers in there. You've spoken about some of the underdogs coming in from the Williams Esports camp. Jack Heatley being one of those. Wisniewski, though, is certainly one to talk about because Nikodem Wisniewski is an interesting driver. He's won an awful lot, mostly based on the R Factor 2 Championship. He won a championship 8 years ago that I'm still irritated about because he beat me to do it. But of course, you know, he's always been a bit of a motorsport fan. He's been a sim racer now for over 10 years. He's been battling it out with his good friend, of course, Brzezinski. Plenty of times those two have been racing. He's actually used to race with Pash Gergis as well. He's another fantastic driver. You love a bit of mustachio, don't you? Kevin Siggy. What hasn't he won in the world of sim racing?
Well, he has been a force to be reckoned with, also part of the FSR scene as well, of course, competing in the world of R Factor now since it's come to roost here on Wrench Sport, and certainly delivered many a grand result as well, dreaming to make the jump from sim racing to real-world GT car or Formula Series, and you wouldn't put it past this young man to achieve that as well, donning the famous moustache, and I know Jasmine said that he looked better without it. I disagree. I like the handlebar moustache. It looks very, very suave indeed.
I don't know if it looks better is the interesting. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Here are two of our heaviest of heavy hitters in the championship. Of course, multiple winners between the pair of them when it comes to their finals positions. Again, as Georgia said time and time again, the top three of these being the total points, the average points per round, and the average grid positions is based on what we've seen in the full season. The bottom two accounts for the spring season and the others as well. So it's a pretty healthy record. Look at that when it comes to the top six. That's obviously been important coming into this, being, of course, 66% chance basically for Dara McCormack, and nearly basically over 3/4 chance for Joshua Rogers, our one of the drivers part of our team's champions at Gamers 8. One of the drivers that was fighting for the drivers' championship, Dara McCormack and Josh Rogers, also both getting into finalist mode. I mean, there are so many stats you can throw out about those two. It honestly makes me feel sick about my own sim racing ability. I've never felt so bad when I've watched these two drive.
Oh, Dara is a relentless figure and certainly represents Williams with a passion. He loves the team, and I know he works hard at everything he does. Joshua Rogers very much the same in terms of Porsche Coanda leading their charge as well after a very dramatic finale at Gamers 8 as well, where they would clinch the team's championship in absolutely mesmeric style towards the tail end. And it was this man who essentially added fuel to the fire and brought them home too. But Dara is going to be a tricky man to beat because when he gets out in front, he generally likes to career away, and I wouldn't be surprised if he tries the same here, but it's all got to start in qualifying, Lewis, and we're only 4.5 minutes away from that.
Certainly so. Like you say, there is high tension between a lot of these drivers. I actually had a very small little chat with Dara McCormack between his semi-finalists, and he basically said, I'm going to cool down. He is not in the mood for conversations for that. He just wants to kind of sit in his own little world. We actually saw this. I know you weren't there, George, because you had other more important things to do or something. But in Munich, when Dara won the first two races on the Sunday, then there was a little bit of a break between race 2 and race 3. Everyone got out of their rigs. They were all moving around. And I said before, Dara McCormack stayed in the rig. I don't think when he's in that zone, he does not like getting involved in anything. I actually think that he would have been more comfortable had he done semi-final 2 straight into the final without any messing around. That big gap between races can sometimes cause a couple of problems for drivers.
It can, and he's very much a relentless figure as well. Likes to keep on going. Another man as well who's relentless is Sebastian Job as well. Lives and breathes sim racing in itself. A multi-time winner in terms of sim racing competition. G2 Esports as well. Their chances of success are very much higher with this man behind the wheel. Dara McCormack, I'm sure, will be giving Williams that same confidence too. But with Williams having 4 drivers in the mix, it must give Dara that little bit of comfort as well, knowing that he has that backing in behind him as well. Dane Warren, should I say, another one to watch, who is generally really a class act over a solitary lap. A single lap pace is truly OP for Dane Warren. Perhaps needs to work on his race pace a little bit more. I know he can get in close, but naturally his qualification pace has always been red hot. Erhan Yovski impressing earlier on tonight. Now, you've got to agree as well, Lewis, his performance in semi-final 1 was special.
Yeah, certainly so. I mean, he's a special driver, but one thing to note about Erhan Yovski is that he's not actually got a podium in a grand final. Here is a driver who has. Of course, Marcel Cintic picked up the round victory in the very last race of the spring season in round 8 at the Hockenheim Ring, taking that victory before he went over into Munich to then take the crown as the top driver over the spring season by winning that spring season championship. There is Kevin Siggy, someone who's had a very up and down season. Only 1 podium when it comes to final showings, and that was a 3rd place at Spa. And I've got to say, I don't think he's looked particularly strong over the last couple of days. Can Yuri Toman start off this season as well as he did the previous one? Remember how strong he was in the opening stages as well, George? Wasn't it 2 podiums in the opening 4 rounds?
Yeah, it was something, certainly to that regard, a stellar showing as well, and was one of the key protagonists as well in RHG's early form heading through the spring season. Kuba Brzezinski as well, one to watch as always. We obviously alluded to him earlier on tonight too. Williams as well, as like I said, with 4 cars in the mix, the confidence levels in amongst those drivers are no doubt going to be high. Whether that can transfer onto the circuit, we'll have to wait and see. Johan Harth, another man who's going it alone for Apex Racing Team, did extremely well to get into the semis, did exceptionally well to get into the final as well, and was actually a threat for a podium and indeed very nearly a race win because he was in that top 4 scrap, Lewis.
I think the biggest threat, though, that Johan Harth was a threat to your dominance on the air hockey table back in Riyadh.
Well,
you were pretty good at that, George. I'm not going to lie.
I dominate. I was unbeaten on that air hockey table. I was not beaten one bit. In fact, Dara McCormack got very upset when we were playing that because he lost every time, and he actually threw a bit of a tantrum and threw the puck away.
Oh, you can't be doing him like that coming into the final.
Yeah, well, it just goes to show his mentality. He is literally all or nothing, Dara McCormack, and I think that says a lot about the driving talent we have here. They all want to win, and it's relentless. It's all about competition. It's all about battling, and I love Dara's tenacity. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I'm being reminded by Veracity as to who broke the puck. That might well have been me and you and O'Leary. After a very strong smash up from one end of the table to the other, the puck did not last anything. And then Krim came along. It was a great event. To be fair, this is one thing that I will just touch on with that event. And to be fair, the LAN events that we've had so far, of course, in Katowice and in Munich and, of course, in Riyadh. And that's why I can't wait for the one in Sweden. It's the way all of the teams, when you're out of the competition, they're just like the badge, like the team, it doesn't matter. Everyone's generally getting along. Everyone's having a good time. Everyone's playing. I was actually mentioning this on my stream yesterday. My favourite thing from the entirety of Riyadh was actually watching Jamie Fluke and Enzo Benito going toe-to-toe on Trackmania. Everyone was getting really involved. It was amazing.
I don't know. I think the Jenga, rivaled that as well, to be honest with you. That was a huge team-building exercise. But we're only just around the corner. Qualification about to start, Lewis.
Yeah, certainly so. So we'll see those first laps going onto the board. Again, I'll remind you that we have got a little bit of a predictor running. Not only do you want to predict who's going to win the race, post that in chat as well. I've seen a great couple of people agreeing with me, so that's the important bit. But how many drivers are going to get within a 1/10 of a second? George has said 11, which is certainly not out of the question. It sounds ridiculous. It's not. Trust me, it's not. Not around the Temple of Speed anyway. There's not too much to this circuit, and the drivers are showing that. I said 8. So we'll have to wait and see. Johan Harth will be the first driver then to come through, and we'll take a look at the entirety of his lap. He's been a changed man since he's come into the fall season. We're on board with Johan Harth now on that run down towards the first corner into the Rettifilio. We'll spot his braking zone over on the left-hand side, just after the 150-metre board. Bang onto the brakes, up and over the curb on the first, up and over the curb on the second, and trying to get yourself a nice straight exit before we go around Curva Grande and up towards the Rogier chicane. It's been, it's a tricky lap, but it's kind of defined by almost somehow the simplicity of it. It's just chicanes and some straights and a couple of more difficult corners, but somehow, George, there is something more about this place that drivers just absolutely love. Nicely nailed through the Rogier. Let's take it through the Lesmos.
Yeah, heading through Lesmo 1 and very shortly Lesmo 2 as well. Johan Harth will need to dial in Sector 2 as best he can. Obviously, the challenge afoot will then be, of course, the Ascari chicane, which can very easily throw you offline. Runs very close to the gravel trap. You could certainly extend over there. A little shake of the head, though, from Johan Harth. I don't think he's overly impressed. The Sector 2 cutoff comes in towards the end of the Serralio Straight, which then takes you through to the infamous Ascari chicane as well, where many drivers lose it, though many drivers can unlock better delta heading through the segment of corners. 34.8, that's the reminder for Sector 1 for Johan Harth. Generally, we see a 34.7 of the realm, but obviously now hooking up Sector 3 is going to be all the more vital as he makes his way down towards Kerber Alvaretta, the Frenchman representing the now known as Mercedes-AMG Patronus in terms of ART this time around. They've signed and sealed, delivered that partnership. Is it going to help Johan Harth get to the top? Already set at 34.8 in the first sector. His lap's a mystery as he makes his way up towards the start-finish line. As he does so, a 1:46.208, and certainly 2/10 off the best time that we have seen, certainly set by that of Joshua Rogers.
Yeah, it's okay. I've got to say, that second sector time from Jakub Brzezinski is actually pretty damn hot. The Mercedes kind of struggles a little bit in first and second, but it does come into its own in this final sector. It works well on the exit of Ascari. It works well through the Parabolica. Let's see what Brzezinski will do across the line. He's trying to get a 46.1. He does get a 46.1. It's a 1:62. It's okay. I do not think that is a pole time, though, as Marcel Chinchik with blank sectors. Who knows what he's been setting, but we know it's fast.
Yeah, Marcel Chinchik is looking dialed in as always. Remember, so successful around this very track. The tempo of speed tends to work favourably for one Marcel Chinchik, the Hungarian, the winner of the Spring Series Championship. Now here in the fall season, he's going to look to do exactly the same again. Heads up towards the line. He goes fastest, a 1:46.080, and only, I would say, under 200ths away. I think 13 thousandths of the time set by Joshua Rogers in our second semi-final. The shake of the head from Yovski. He's not happy.
No, because the first and second sector is not great, and that's where we expect the Audi R8 to be at its strongest. I think this lap time is going to be fourth. I think it's going to be a couple of tenths off of his teammate. Marcel Chinchik set the fastest lap time, unless Yovski has absolutely sent it in the final sector. I don't think he's going to be looking for a strong position. He'll come up towards the line. He's 3 tenths off of the pole. What a disappointment for the Macedonians. Here comes Joe.
Well, top 11 is certainly out of contention in terms of staying within the same tenth of a second. We've got two drivers currently in the midst of that, Jakub Brzezinski and Marcel Chinchik, 81 thousandths between them. Sebastian Job, certainly a driver that is one to watch as Chinchik in the bottom right-hand corner watches on. As Sebastian Job, the Brit, heads up towards the line, goes fastest, a 1:46.032, and that's the fastest we've seen in qualifying so far. What a foundation to land for G2 Esports, their sole driver in this fight, and he's now on top with a qualifying record time from tonight.
Yeah, that is fantastic from Sebastian Job. We know how fast he is, and we know the kind of quality of driver that he is. He's shown that BMW M4 is absolutely fast enough to compete at the front. Let's see if Wisniewski can show his Mercedes up towards that. He comes up towards the line. He's going to cross it. He's going to go into 5th position. I didn't think those sectors were looking particularly great. Yuri Toma will be the next one to come through. Can he join his teammate up inside that? Up inside the top 2, top 3?
Currently 2 RAG cars in the top 6, as you'd expect, because we're now on our 7th driver. Toman now is going to look to surpass and Yovski needs to as well. He's had 2 second places from the spring season and still chasing his first win at this point. As you can see from the bottom left of your screen now, you can just see him there focused and transfixed as he crosses the line, fourth fastest, and goes ahead of Johan Harth, but just behind Jakub Brzezinski. Here comes Mustachio. It's Kevin Siggy.
Well, it seems neither of us are right. You said 11 drivers, I said 8. Neither of those are actually possible at the moment, with only just 5 drivers left to go. But these are 5 heavy hitters: Siggy, McCormack, Warren, Rogers and Keithley, the last drivers to set lap times within this session. Kevin Siggy will be the first of those. He'll come up towards the line. I think it's aiming for about a 0.2 again, as he will head across it. It will be a 0.256. And I said it yesterday, and I'll say it again. Boom, George Morgan, I'm better than you. So I can't remember what I said now, but yeah, take it.
Well, here comes Dara McCormack to prove me right and you wrong as he makes his way through towards Curva Alboreto. At the moment, it's Sebastian Job's time to beat 49 thousandths back Marcel Chinchik. In comes Dara McCormack. Is it going to be a bit of Irish luck? A shake of the head. He's not happy. But remember, we saw this last time. He was still within the same half a tenth of a second. Goes third fastest, however, and ahead of his teammate, Jakub Brzezinski. So it's Job, Chinchik, McCormack. Every big name you can think of. They're in the top 3. Can Dane Warren join them?
Yeah, I mean, look, of the last 3 drivers, certainly 2 of them can get within that time that McCormack set to pole position. I think Keithley can as well. Let's see what Dane Warren will do. He's into the final sector now. The first sector's looking okay. The second sector's looking pretty decent as well. This could be a potential time to challenge for pole position. His face doesn't really show much emotion at the best of times, and right now it's not really showing it either. He goes to second. But he's still behind Sebastian Job. Joshua Rogers will be the next one to come through. And remember, they were on the front row in the previous. He's got to slow down.
He has, coming out of Ascari, and the reaction said it all. Joshua Rogers, one of the favourites here, no doubt, here in this round 1 event of the full season. And now we'll see himself drop to the tail of the field. He could potentially be starting at the back here, because Jack Keithley is the only car left. And if he nestles in a clean lap, you can bet your bottom dollar Rogers will be starting last here.
Yeah, wow, there we go. Rogers across the line, 2.3 seconds off of the pole. You can see Jack Keithley's not got any sort of slowdown here. The first and second sectors are looking okay. Certainly going to go ahead of the Australian. But what drama for Porsche Commander. They've got 1 car on the front row, and they've got 1 car that'll be at the back. It is not Rogers towards the front. It is Dane Warren looking for his first victory. Let's see what Keithley will do. He comes out of the final corner. He'll come up towards the line. Keithley's not going to be challenging in pole position, but he is going to move his way into 8th. And for Williams Esports to have all 4 drivers through to this point, none of them have pole position. Here's a look then at our first grand final qualifying presented by VRS. You've got Joshua Rogers starting from the rear of the field. High drama this is. Erhan Yoski, after his fantastic form earlier on, will start from 11th before we get to Nikodem Vishnevsky from 10th position, alongside one of his main rivals from R-Factor 2 is Kevin Siggy, starting from 9th. Jack Keithley in 8th position, with Johan Harth, the Lone Apex Racing Team driver, starting from 7th. Yuri Toman getting his RHG car inside the top 6th with a 6th place qualifying. Jakub Brzezinski in 5th. Dara McCormack disappointed across the line, a 10th and a bit off pole position. He'll start from 4th. Marcel Chinchik from 3rd. Dane Warren from 2nd after a fantastic qualifying, but it wasn't good enough to topple the G2 Esports man of Sebastian Job, who's looking on top form right now. Veracity was asking the questions earlier on as to whether Sebastian Job was going to take top honours, whether he was going to fight towards the front for G2 Esports, dragging them way through. I think the answer to that question is yes, 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 yes. Sebastian Job, what a driver.
Yeah, what a stellar driver indeed. Back to the top yet again, this time for G2 Esports. Has nestled in his qualities once again to land a pole lap that will certainly not be rivaled by those that we saw in the semi-finals in 1 or 2. The fastest one we've seen, Lewis, and I think that just goes to show the sheer quality of the man. I think, though, looking back at some of the times that we saw, and certainly some of the drivers that are buckling under the pressure, I think that just states how great a lap that was from Sebastian Job.
Yeah, I mean, it's still not the best lap that we've ever seen in ESL R1. That is obviously the Joshua Rogers lap at the Nürburgring in the Drivers' Championship final, of course, at ESL R1 at Riyadh at Gamers 8, because that was absolutely next level.
Oh,
the lap we saw in this session from Joshua Rogers, not on the same page.
No, certainly the reaction again, I think he's disappointed because, and quite rightly, because obviously starting from the back of the grid is certainly unheard of as far as Joshua Rogers is concerned. But we know what the racing around the Temple of Speed can do here, Lewis, because we've already seen quite a bit of it already. Incidents can occur. Tight chicanes, Rettifilio, Roger, we've had incidents everywhere there. Also Kerber Alboreto as well. It's certainly not going to be easy here at this point in time for any of these guys, and Rogers could yet still be in the fight.
Yeah, you never know. You really never know. I mean, ESL R1's been exciting at the best of times, but as we move through into the first final of the season, we know this is going to get turned up to 11. Sebastian Job will be starting from the first pole position of the new season in the finals, but he'll be alongside a new candidate for him to fight off. It's Dane Warren up there as well. You've got champions in the mix in Marcel Chinchik, but Sebastian Job will start the first race from pole, and it's a clean start from on the race down towards the first corner, a clean launch, but that just means that Dane Warren's going to jump straight into the slipstream. They head their way down towards the first corner. We look at Kevin Siggy in the middle of the pack. At the moment, it's the whole shot for Sebastian Job. The attack coming in, though, from the RAG of Marcel Chinchik. Yuri Tobin also having a bit of a fight in the background. Dane Warren is feeling the pressure, and let's see about those Williams cars in the middle of the pack. Sebastian Job's gone.
He has. He is literally, well, he's flown. He is literally rounding Curva Grande, and there's a gap forming. Certainly now Dane Warren up into second place ahead of Marcel Chinchik, and now trying to defend against that of the sensational Hungarian now, as we see him battling further back there. Johan Haaf coming together too with Erhan Jojowski as they make their way in towards Lesmo 1, and very soon Lesmo 2 now as well. Johan Haaf dialed into the inside as they bash wheels, heading out of this particular sector. Jojowski tried to, certainly trying to unsettle Johan Haaf right now, and he's got a swarm of Williams cars queuing up in behind.
Yeah, this is crazy stuff. Like I say, great stuff from Johan Haaf, but Jack Keith and Nikodem Wisniewski over the rear end. Dara McCormack sorting out his start and fending off his teammate Jakub Brzezinski. They head up towards Ascari for the first time, and all 12 of them are safely on their way in this race. Joshua Rogers at the rear of the field, not making any progress. He remains in 12th. He's not taken account of any of the earlier drama. Over half a second, the lead now for Sebastian Job over Dane Warren, and he is pulling out that margin. Marcel Chinchik will be feeling that right now, and the Master of Monza will try and make a pounce early doors. They head through the Parabolica for the first time, out to complete the first lap time. Job leaps from Warren, then Chinchik, McCormack, Brzezinski, Toman, Haaf, Keithley, Wisniewski, Jojowski, Siggy and Rogers, the 12 cars on the field. There's our race leader.
Yeah, there he is indeed, Sebastian Job. Now, the gap wasn't necessarily as big as it was earlier on at the very start of the race. Dane Warren still very much in the mixer here, as well as Marcel Chinchik. And I tell you what, Dara McCormack getting closer and closer to the back of the RAG now as Johan Haaf again under pressure, this time from the Williams of Jack Keithley, who's trying to plumb for an advantage, heading out to the Rettifilio, might yet find it around the Curva Grande. They're around this next right now, and the Apex Racing team now dotting the Mercedes, certainly for this incoming full season. They're going to make their way down now towards the Roger. Enter now Jack Keithley. He's going to look to try and push and prod his way through. Did have a little cheeky look down the inside, but cut straight back in. Opts to stay within the slipstream.
Yeah, Keithley, like I said, he's well into his wrestling. He's well into his touring car racing as well. No one's shocked by that. If you're into wrestling and stuff like that, he really wants to get out of the fight. I mean, I don't know if he's still got his Action Man curtains out and about, but he's certainly looking for a bit of a fight this afternoon. He'll try and fight his way past Johan Haaf, but he's got to keep his teammate at bay. You can see there, Joshua Rogers and Dara McCormack have the most wins over the regular season. We're not surprised by that, of course. Both of them taking multiple final wins. Dara McCormack's were back-to-back, though. He's the only driver to have taken back-to-back victories. Of those in the top, though, Sebastian Job, Dane Warren, they both definitely don't have it. Brzezinski doesn't have a win. Toman doesn't have a win. Haaf, Keithley, Wisniewski, Jojowski, Siggy, they don't have wins either. It is just Chinchik, McCormack and Rogers taking top honours over a round.
Yeah, history could be well and truly made here at Monza, as we're now seeing them make their way around Kerber Alboreto. Joshua Rogers and Dara McCormack have the most wins from regular spring season. Dara McCormack is also the first driver to take 2 back-to-back. That, of course, being the 2 back-to-back round wins that he took towards the tail end of the spring season as well. It was a very good second half of the season. Now we're going to see a Williams swap here, because Jack Keithley giving way to Nikodem Wisniewski. That looks tactical to me. Certainly no fighting back from Jack Keithley at all there.
Yeah, I'm sure Michael Preston will be right in the ears of all 4 Williams. I've got to say, he's got to be looking at this being like, I can't believe what's happening. I can't believe what's happening. Again, it's been fantastic for Williams Esports right now. I know they've had a little bit of a tumultuous start to 2023, but they're certainly ending it in the right way, garnering the right light. Decent move there from Wisniewski on his teammate, but like you say, 100% that was tactical. Brzezinski will not be fighting his teammate in this fight inside the top 5 as well. He'll be allowing McCormack to get fully on the rear end of Chinchik, of Warren and of Jobe. We've got lots of the heavy hitters in ESL R1 when it comes to our teams fighting at the front here. G2, Porsche, RHG and Williams all inside that top 4. All with one car inside that top 4. Of course, Williams have a second one in Brzezinski in all of that. This will be fascinating, and I'm sure it'll be calm, at least for the next couple of laps. But if this is the case for the final 2, oh my goodness me, the fight we are going to get, George Morgan, will be off the scale.
We'll take a look at those gaps. They're still very, very tight. Still Jobe out in front, and now getting close to Dane Warren as well. He might forgo. I tell you what, there's a little bit. They got very close between Chinchik and McCormack, heading through towards Kerber Alvaretto. So sit tight, folks. I get the feeling we're not going to be too far away from this starting to heat up here around the Temple of Speed. They're now making their way down the stretch now this time. Still Sebastian Jobe out in front. Dane Warren trying to urge closer and closer is so as well. But Chinchik looks like the threat. Has a look down the inside now, heading in towards the Rettifilio. Not going late on the brakes. Opted just to take a look. Did not plumb for a late move. Instead, coming out to the Rettifilio, all in tandem. One by one they go. It's still Jobe on top, but Dane Warren getting closer, but so's Chinchik. They're all in the mixer for a potential race win.
Yeah, I mean, Sebastian Jobe's looking for the perfect start to the season by taking the entirety of the points haul. The most they can take for a round is 85 points, 25 for knockout for the knockout phase, 25 as well for the semi-finals. It'll be 35 from this race for Sebastian Jobe as Kevin Siggy and Joshua Rogers battle it out over positions we would never expect 2 drivers of this caliber to fight over. It is the wooden spoon in this race, and a whopping 6 and 5 points between them, 6th for 11th and 5 for 12th. The fighting between those continues. Rogers moves up into that 11th spot, but he's 1.1 seconds behind Yovski. I suspect Rogers will be able to close that gap courtesy of the concertina effect within that group, as long as Siggy doesn't fight him too hard. But these two will be unbelievably frustrated. But at this level, someone has to be 11th and 12th, and it's 11th and 12th, let's remind you, of 48 drivers, not just the 12 in this race. The 36 that have already been knocked out of this competition.
Yeah, absolutely right indeed. Chinchik now starting to drift closer and closer to that of Dane Warren again. They were seeing the fight in the top 3, could call it the top 4 as well, with Dara McCormack, who's still sitting on the back of the RHG Audi. It can all be undone with one mistake. That's all it takes, as now we ride on board with Marcel Chinchik. You can see him at the bottom left of your screen. Underneath there, you can also see Sebastian Jobe. Now Chinchik giving up waiting, as has Dane Warren, who's going to be undone here because he's trapped behind that of Sebastian Jobe. Enter that of Marcel Chinchik, who's going to get his nose into 2nd place. Dane Warren now trying to fight back. The first blood being issued here in lap 5 of 9 as they now venture through towards Curva Grande. Here comes Chinchik. We run on board with Darren McCormack, looking to take every advantage possible. He might get one. Heading out of the Grande corner now, heading down towards Roger. It's still Jobe out in front. Back comes Dane Warren here against that of Marcel Chinchik. They come together through this segment over the sausage curbs. It's Chinchik. Chinchik, he holds on to 2nd.
Yeah, that's brilliant stuff from Marcel Chinchik. It was a costly lift there. Timing, patience from Dane Warren. I mean, he was very lucky that he didn't drop back to the rear of this field, but it is what it is. That is Marcel Chinchik working his way through. He has the fastest lap of the race set. Obviously, he wasn't going to lift off behind Dane Warren. If you're going to let me through, don't worry about it. Thanks. I know you're playing a tactical game here, but good sir, I am coming through. Let's see if Dara McCormack might well pick up on Dane Warren just here. It's more filling the mirrors there, trying to distract the Australian, who has made some costly mistakes this ESL R1 campaign. But we could be looking at a very different Dane Warren for the 2nd season of ESL R1. We know he has the pace to compete at the front. We know he has the pace to take many a victory. We were saying this before we were racing, even back in Katowice, that the Porsche Commander team, they all kind of accepted that really Dane Warren was the fastest of that team. Well, he is finally starting to show it as we ride on board with Dara McCormack on the right-hand side. You can see that trio at the front of the field. Every time they battle, there is a risk that Sebastian Jobe is going to check out. He's not done so yet, but if you do that a few too many times, boom, he will be gone.
Look how fast Chinchik is heading down the straight as well. Dara McCormack has given up waiting too. He's going to take perhaps a little look. He did take a look indeed, but we're seeing some more coming together here with Yuyovski. And I think Johan Hart around the outside as well on the venture out to the Retavillo chicane. Again, an untidy run over the curbs there for Johan Hart, but recovers very well. But now has Nikodem Wisniewski on his tail as they now head around the Curva Grande yet again. Here this time on lap 6 of 9. Only a matter of a few laps left in this final race before they crown whoever the round winner is this time in round 1. Currently it's going to Sebastian Job. Johan Hart digging deep here and now comes under pressure after a mistake, after coming into contact there with Yuri Toman as well. Enter now Johan Hart and Nikodem Wisniewski. Wisniewski has got him through the first Lesmo. Stellar move, had to be done. Just too many mistakes grouping him to Johan Hart's race.
Yeah, just got a little bit overly ambitious trying to make his way past Yuri Toman, and like you say, Nikodem Wisniewski will pounce on that every single day of the week. Race lead with just 3.5 laps left to go. Still is being held by Sebastian Job, looking for the clean sweep here at Monza. And at the moment, things are looking okay, but the pressure is starting to build on his shoulders as beta keys are being given out left, right and centre. Surely you're picking these up at home. Get them typed in over on the Epic store. Let's see if Sebastian Job can hang on, though. 3 more rotations at the Temple of Speed if he can take his first victory. Marcel Chinchik closed out the spring season with a victory, won the spring season champion, had a bit of a struggle at Gamers 8 and wants to open the new season in the best possible way. He's going to be into that slipstream, George, and I'm sure he's going to do something into T1.
Yeah, the Hungarian now opens up the door. Remember, he is the Spring Series champion. Now looking to take his crown again in the full season. Enter as well Dara McCormack for second place, but wheel to wheel, Sebastian Job and Marcel Chinchik. Dane Warren managing to withstand the pressure as Dara McCormack now falls into line. It is still Job on top. Chinchik, he's going to have to live to fight another day, but on lap 7 of 9, it's kicking off here around the Temple of Speed.
This is fantastic stuff. Here comes Marcel Chinchik then. He's not going to do anything into the Rogier this time, but look at how much that train just closes up. It concertinas up going through the Rogier. Fantastic stuff, but Sebastian Job continues to lead. It is definitely a train of 12 cars, though. Yes, there is a bit of a break there between 5th and 6th position, but trust me, Yuri Toman's coming, and he is dragging the rest of the contingent through. He's dragging along Wisniewski, he's dragging along Hart, he's dragging along Yuyovski as well, and then somehow it's still Keithley, Rogers and Siggy at the back of the field. I mean, I am shocked that Rogers has not been able to make any progress up this order. It just shows how strong ESL R1 is, as once again filling the mirrors of Dane Warren is Dara McCormack as they head through Ascari.
It's strong and getting stronger. We've come a long way since Katowice back in February. Our first LAN event that certainly did unveil the mystery as to the new Rennsport game. And now since then we have crowned champions. We have obviously seen Marcel Chinchik take the Spring Series Championship. We saw, of course, too, that of Maximilian Benneker lifting the trophy at Gamers 8, as well as Porsche Coanda, as well as Team Redline taking successive teams championships themselves. And now it's the turn of Marcel Chinchik again to star here in the final race here in round 1. Sebastian Job still out in front, but for how much longer as his rear wing keeps getting peppered by the RAG Audi? Marcel Chinchik looking to unveil a possible P1 in his favour, as now we see them take the Retavillo contact on the way through. They come together again, and again Dane Warren proving to be the thorn in the side of Marcel Chinchik as they rush around the Curva Grande.
Oh, I thought McCormack was getting involved in it then. They come round Curva Grande. There's definitely something happening up here towards the Rogier. The defensive line's being taken from Sebastian Job. Penultimate lap, penultimate chance into the Rogier. The inside line being taken from Dane Warren, who's sending one in. He's trying to commit to it. There's contact between himself and Marcel Chinchik. The up and under being taken from the Irishman of Dara McCormack. And Williams could be working their way onto the podium. You can see into the eyes of McCormack there. He is feeling the pressure, but he's making the move as calm as you like. Bam! Dane Warren bites off a bit more than he can chew, and it is Dara McCormack making his way to 3rd.
Yeah, and Williams might have another car going through too, because enter Kuba Brzezinski, who is now side by side. Serralio straight now, lights up here as all the cars get to work here with only a couple of laps to go. We have got a lap and a half still to run here at Monza, round 1 of the full season. Enter Jakub Brzezinski, sensational move now, 4th place. Now going to the Williams driver. It's Williams 3rd and 4th as McCormack now strives onwards. He's going to try and open up a chance at a victory, but back comes Dane Warren.
Yeah, this is it. There's going to be 3 for the race lead because everyone else is too busy fighting in their own squabbles. Behind, there's 3 wide as well as Johan Half. There's someone on Wisniewski who has a big slide coming out of the Parabolica. He manages to catch it just ahead of the Frenchman. Now drops in behind. Frustration from Johan Half. But we must look forward because I'm sure Chinchik's going to try something on Sebastian Job. One final lap around the Temple of Speed. The defensive line's being taken from Jakub Brzezinski as we head our way through it. Sebastian Job looking for the clean sweep. It's the big send coming in from R8G. There is more to deal with coming up towards the Rogia as this fight continues. Warren back past Brzezinski.
It certainly is. They remain side by side coming through towards the Curva Grande now. Wheel to wheel they remain. In behind as well, venture in Yuri Toman, who knows he has a sniff of an opportunity and a double overtake. He's going to squeeze around the long way round as they come in towards the Rogia. He might yet get the Tiger line heading through this next time, but no, Dave Warren shutting the door immediately on Kuba Brzezinski, who now has to stay in 5th place. Johan Haas going off the track as well. He's dropping places, but the backup at the front end now still brewing. Dave Warren under pressure still. He has had to be physical. It's been so demanding. This race certainly giving the best of these drivers to the forefront, giving you guys at home, the spectators, the feast to watch. But here's the fight now for the win here. Lewis, take us away.
I can't believe what I'm seeing. He can't do it up towards Ascari, but Marcel Chinchik's going to give it a go. He has to back out of it, and Sebastian Job will continue to hold the race lead. This will come down towards the Parabolica. Is this not the best final you have ever seen in ESL R1 as we start this brand new season at the Temple of Speed? It is Sebastian Job, Marcel Chinchik, Dara McCormack all fighting for victory. It's going to be the outside line being taken. Dara McCormack on the brakes, not making it 3 wide. Sebastian Job taking the inside line through the Parabolica. There's contact as the Irishman tries to make his way through. They come out towards the line, and it is Sebastian Job taking the clean sweep here to open the season of ESL R1. Job on top, McCormack and Chinchik with the drag race towards the line, and it is G2 Esports taking the first win of the full season. How much can you talk about this, man? I cannot believe what I've just seen. That is fantastic racing, and Sebastian Job takes the win at Monza. George, that was the best final we have ever had.
Are you not entertained, folks at home? It is going to be Sebastian Job. It's G2 Esports. They take the win in the final race. They're round 1 victors. Sensational. It's a double victory, 2 wins in a row. Sebastian Job lighting things up here at ESL R1. And we talk about his credentials. We talk about his ability. You can stamp that now, certainly, after that stellar performance. And what a defensive drive as well, Lewis.
I'm not going to lie. I mean, I'm sure you've irritated your wife. I've definitely irritated my housemates, and I don't care. That race was worthy of it. That was absolutely excellent. Like you say, more credentials to throw towards Sebastian Job, taking his first victory in ESL R1 in the finals. Got to say, Marcel Chinchik put up a great fight, great attempts there, but that last little move there from Dara McCormack to try and send one in, he had to give it a go. Should Marcel Chinchik have been braver coming up towards Ascari? He'll be thinking about that all night long. We'll take a look, though, at highlights from the race, and I'm sure there'll be many of them. Absolutely incredible. Once again, a start from Sebastian Job. He had pole position after a thrilling qualifying session from Dane Warren, who did a great job to put himself onto the front row of the grid. Going down to that first corner, there were a couple of little bit of bumps and bashes in the mid-pack, as we expect in competition here. Sebastian Job was kind of checking out through all that. Johan Haas in the middle of a bit of a fight with one of the R8Gs, being Erhan Yovski, just brushes between them going through the first and second Lesmo. Once again, some big sends. This one from Marcel Chinchik straight down the inside, trying to take over the race lead from Sebastian Job. Dane Warren also being a part of it, but unfortunately, he would be dropping backwards, not quite having the speed. That excellent send from Jakub Brzezinski straight around the outside, and then it became 3 wide. All of this outside of the top 4, outside of the podium. Fantastic battling between all of them. Working their way through. Dane Warren just about managing to fend off all this. This was the last lap of the race, though. The last couple of times going through Ascari and up towards the Parabolica. Sebastian Job able to hang on to the victory. But of course, Dara McCormack coming through there just about side by side. A bit of a brush between himself and Marcel Chinchik, and a fantastic way, George, to start out the season. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. We'll jump over to Jasmine, though. He's got an interview with our round winner, Sebastian Job.
Oh yeah, we are back, baby. Sebastian Job has only just gone and done it. Seb, talk to me. What a fantastic way to make your return to ESL R1. I need to ask you, how on earth do you do it? What has been done? What have the discussions been? Spill the tea.
Well, there has been a few adjustments, to be honest. I think in the event in Riyadh, it became quite clear to me that I was missing something in the BMW. I was still able to pull out some laps, but I could see there was something wrong, so I've changed my driving style completely, and it seems to be making a difference. But yeah, just honestly, the 3 laps I've done in the qualies have all been really good. Like, I don't want to say it's unsustainable, but like they were really good. I wouldn't be disappointed if I did those laps in practice. So yeah, just really drove to my best today and managed to get the win.
You really thought you could come here and give me I changed up my driving style, and I would accept that as an answer. Give me specifics. What specifically have you changed, either within your routine or your driving style, as you mentioned as well, to make you as amazing as you have been?
Well, I don't want to give too much away, because I'm pretty sure that if I say too much, other people will pick up on it. But it's basically, I think I was driving the BMW like the other cars, and you can't really do that. The BMW is super sensitive on its tires, and I realized that I was just not driving in the right way. I was using very different in-car settings to everyone else, and I think everyone probably saw that already at Riyadh. So I've just kind of tried to emulate what the fastest people do, and it seems to have worked out.
And what about your team? Have you at least shared your top tips, top secrets with them as well?
Yeah, the problem is most of them were already... I was the only one doing this, so I'm now driving like my teammates in that sense. So it was more that I was the outlier, and now I'm returning to the normal driving style that is required for this car.
Well, obviously next week you're going to be diving into Spa. The real question is, are you feeling confident heading on into Spa? And who do you think your biggest competition is going to be?
Yeah, to be honest, I thought Monza was my worst track, so now I'm not sure. So I would say Spa is one of my better tracks, but I also completely messed up on that track in Saudi, so hopefully I can make up for that. Biggest competition? Honestly, it's perhaps too early to say, but I think Dara looks very quick. Beneke looks very quick, even though he didn't get through. I think he picked up a penalty, and as always, Josh will always be fast. So those are the main people off the top of my head, but I think that will change as the rounds go on.
Amazing. Well, any final words you want to give to anybody supporting you, or any of your pals?
Yeah, just a big thank you to everyone who supports me. I know my parents are watching, my girlfriend's watching, so just thank you to them for all the support.
That's so sweet. Thank you so much for joining me, and congratulations once again, Mr. Job.
Thank you very much.
George. If you think about it, I basically gave my prediction as Sebastian Job. Just putting that one out there.
I'll let you get away with it.
You look like you're in denial right now. Let's go ahead and wrap up our final results for round number 1. Was Sebastian Job a little bit of a surprise for you? Because I'm pretty sure that was that your prediction?
No, it wasn't necessarily mine. I went with Dara McCormack, but I think a sensible human being, I think, would definitely give Sebastian Job every chance to be successful. Honestly, tremendous performance. 35 points going to his name after a tremendous performance indeed for G2 Esports. Dara McCormack, what a move heading through Curva Arboreto. Take nothing away from him. That move on Marcel Chinchik, who has certainly been the star around Monza quite consistently over time, certainly off the back of Gamers 8. 3rd place is where he left off. Dave Moran, I think, was a little unlucky towards the end. Jakub Brzezinski, I think, definitely excelled himself again on this occasion, beating two very good RHE talents too. Josh Rogers, while he started from the back of the grid, and that was disappointing, I think, for him and no doubt his fans and that of Porsche Coanda, he did well to, certainly raise his stakes and go up the places that he did, ahead of Nikodem Wisniewski and Kevin Siggy, who also never really got going. But the Drivers' Championship also looks dazzling too. Sebastian Job now leading the way. McCormack, though, not far behind in 15th, with 15 points behind on 70 points. Chinchik in third. Yojowski still in fourth as well. There's still lots to come, I get the vibe, Jasmine, and I think off the back of this one, there's going to be a lot of redemption fights happening when we go into round 2.
There's still so much chaos still to come, but I want to focus a little bit more on our team championship. FaZe Clan in particular, I know they were a hot topic of conversation when we were heading into Gamers 8 and throughout Gamers 8 as well. So for the upcoming round number 2, it's going to be on Spa. What do they need to change up and address? And do you think it is really feasible to do so within the 1 week period that we have?
Well, I think obviously the first bit of advice: get into the semi-finals. I think that is obviously going to be the trick of the trade. I mean, we just saw Williams get 4 cars into the final of round 1. Never been done before. Yet they're the ones who have achieved it, and now off the back of that, they've probably helped themselves no end by achieving that. Bountying those points together, and therefore it makes that job all the more easier. But FaZe, I think, will need to strip things back. They'll have to look back and see what they did here around Monza. It might be the case when you head to Spa, different kind of track, more variation, high elevation as well, whereas Monza's quite a flat circuit with some very, very fast sections. Spa has it all. You have your mid-speed corners, your fast-speed corners, some slow-speed corners to boot as well. Grandiose opportunities for overtaking, and not just on straights, but also in the corners too. And we've seen quite a few occasions of that becoming prominent, certainly here at ESL R1 in prior competitions. And I don't think the full season is going to be any different. If anything, it's going to be just as potent.
Well, I think if Gamers 8 is anything to go by, then the entirety of FaZe Clan needs to be getting on those Smarties. Who knows, it might just very well be the ticket that they need to claim themselves a victory. But another reminder for everybody that's been joining, I want to see all the exclamation marks in the chat. We've got exclamation mark VRS, exclamation mark social, and exclamation mark survey as well throughout the duration of today. Of course, we've been giving you so much info on how you can get involved over on social media, sending in your content ideas and representatives, as it were, for all of our teams that are taking part as well. And I've had an absolute blast today. I'm looking at everybody spamming in the chat right now, trying to claim their keys. And I did promise that I would be revealing my final key on broadcast today. You know what? I'm going to cover up the final letter, because this is how I was doing it in the chat as well. I can't actually see the preview, so I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to type this code in. And I think, George, you know what? You're going to tell me when I've given them enough time, okay?
We'll let the chat decide. If you're ready in the live chat, let us know if you're ready for the final letter. I think if we span one,
span in the chat.
Yeah, one for one
That's
letter. So let us know. Yeah, we'll spam the ones in the chat, folks. Let us know if you've completed typing out the majority of that key. We will then reveal the final letter as soon as we've seen the ones being spammed in the live chat. So make sure you get onto your keyboard and let us know. So
there is
here we
a
go.
delay, so we can continue having a bit of a chit chat, and I will reveal the final letter verbally, and I'll show it on broadcast as well, just to be sure. So talk to me. What has your highlight of today been so far, apart from joining myself and Lewis, of course? Maybe Lewis less so.
That's the biggest highlight. It has to be said, Jasmine. No, I tell you what. We've had lots to look at. I think obviously the final was something special. We haven't necessarily seen the type of racing in prior competitions that we saw tonight. Everyone was really pushing for the big places. Obviously now Sebastian Job has been made €1,000 richer off the back of that splendid P1 that he's just managed to take. And not only that, he's championship leader. So I think now that we have seen certainly what the new point system can do, the monetary system can do, I think we're going to be in for one spicy championship.
And we've had such great feedback from all of our drivers as well. We heard Marcel talking about it earlier. Beforehand, he wouldn't have had a reason as such to gonna go in for making those risky overtakes and things like that. But I think Chaos is well and truly ahead of us. I'm seeing the ones come in on the chat now as well. Should we do the reveal?
Let's do the reveal.
You're gonna give me
Go on.
Pathetic drum roll again.
Do you want me to protect?
Okay, the final letter is J. The final
J.
letter on this closed beta key code is J. There we go. Go, go, go. And I want to see people, whoever gets it, make sure you type in the chat as well and let us know that you've got the final beta. Oh, I love that. I love the confetti. Can we get some more confetti going?
Yeah, come on, let's get some.
Oh,
yeah,
you know
yeah.
what? We
there
did
we
it
are.
so well for the intro of the show. As soon as I went like this, the confetti came out.
Yeah.
George, I have had an absolute blast. It's been so much fun. I just want to say thank you so much for joining me. And as per usual, I want to give a huge shout out to VRS, all of the Ren Sport folks for providing us with all of those sweet keys, everybody from ESL, and of course, Lewis McGlade, I guess. He's been all right too. I'm looking forward to next week's races that we're going to be diving into Spa. So I'll see you all next time.